Crossover. Oh, killer crossover.
Just crossover. It just crossed him over nastily.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
Crossover is brought to you by Everlevel Concrete. Bear in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. Hold on here.
How you doing, Josh?
That is a sweet picture of Baxter Arena. Hi, Josh.
Aren't they all sweet?
Going to be even more. Your fan experience at Baxter Arena is changing.
New ribbon boards or something
New
like
ribbon
that?
boards.
Yeah.
They took out the old scoreboard last week, and now the new scoreboard is coming in.
Big fan. I love a good ribbon board. I love a good ribbon board.
Matt likes technology.
I do. The more information I can get by just looking my head around an arena, the more I want. Can we get to the point where we have like sabermetrics in like baseball arenas? Like I can see a guy's like WRC plus, like just by turning my head to the left. Do they do exit velo on every single kid in some stadiums?
I don't think so. Maybe if it's a home run.
Sure.
I think they put it up at Warner Park for home runs.
I think I'm pretty sure they do. Matt Wallner hit one when I was there. But I would like that. Every hit. Just give me an exit velo.
Josh.
Look at this. Wow. Okay. I just saw the picture.
It's it looks for, it's not. So downtown's getting a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Across the street's getting a new one.
What do we
place
buy in
Lincoln
bulk and just divvy them out?
Well, okay, so
is it all the same company?
I think it is all Daktronics. They all were visited on the same week. So the representative that was working with Mecca also went over to Baxter Arena, and then I think they went to PBA. I don't know if Daktronics is in PBA, but they all, like within the same week, all did their bidding and did their site visits.
Looks nice.
It
looks really good.
Well, it was at the end of, it was 10 years old, and it was kind of on its last legs at the end of this past season.
Yeah.
You didn't know if it was going to work or not?
I just like Baxter Arena. Baxter Arena is probably up there with one of my favorite places to like watch a game. Now, I have to go to a hockey game there because I know it's built for there.
Mm-hmm.
But even watching a basketball game there was very nice. Those seats are so comfy.
I've never noticed.
They're leather.
No. All the seats? Are all the seats leather?
I'm pretty sure all the seats are leather.
True.
Oh, I don't know that I've sat, even for hockey.
I sit in the nosebleeds, and I don't recall leather.
Yeah, now upstairs in the 200s where I like to sit, like behind one of the goals.
People?
Yeah, where the Mavs shoot in the first and third period above the student section.
Yeah.
Those are not leather.
Okay.
Where were you sitting?
I sit in the one where you have the private bathroom and you can walk up to the, like on the opposite
club?
Yeah, on the opposite sides of the benches.
Nice.
Do you ever sit with us?
I get the tickets I'm given, okay? I ask people, I go, hey, do you have 2 tickets that I can have? And they go, yes, here you go. And they just happen to be in the luxury suites. I can't help it.
He's clearly not asking our bosses for tickets.
Do you think this is a real quote from the head coach of Texas? Jim Schlossnagle was asked about the lack of crowd support at the regional this weekend.
Okay.
He said, quote, "It's difficult when 75% of your fan base actually attended UTSA. They've got no clue who to cheer for."
No way. That is no way that is a real quote. That is taking such a shot at UTSA, who just beat you, and taking a shot at your own university.
This may be from a Texas A&M account, which is fantastic.
That is a great quote.
He did, though.
Did he accidentally say gig 'em over the weekend?
So yesterday's afternoon game, because he does that. I mean, we saw that when he came to the College World Series. He did it with TCU. What is TCU's phrase?
Go Frogs or some frogs.
Horn frogs up or something
frogs,
like that.
Whatever.
So when he got to Texas A&M, whenever he'd wrap up an interview before the game, he would say gig 'em. So yesterday, when he wrapped up that interview, he goes, hook 'em. And people are like, did he really? Yes. So that should have told you that Texas was going to be in trouble against UTSA.
It's going to be really awkward when Pat Fitzgerald says "Go Cats" when he eventually becomes a head coach again.
Should Husker coaches say GBR?
No. There are some schools that have good taglines, okay?
Mark D'Antonio would come on and do interviews on this radio station. He would finish with, and go green.
That's a good one. Go Huskers? I don't know. Go Nebraska? No, too boring.
Doesn't,
would it be Go Big Red or would it be GBR?
I'd just say GBR.
It's quicker. It's punchier.
I think I would say Go Big Red.
Does Rule say that on some of his national interviews?
No, I don't think so.
Say go Huskers?
I don't know. I rarely reach the end of Matt Rule's interviews because they're all like an hour and 15 long, and the interviewer at some point becomes insufferable.
James Franklin will sneak in a "we are."
I do recall that.
And he's hoping that the person will respond that is doing the interview. And then if they don't, the interview just ends with "we are." Done?
Well, he does know that he's on a national broadcast that's pretty down the middle.
I mean, he'd have to be talking to somebody like Ellie French.
Yeah.
Penn State.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Jenny Taft is going to drop a Penn State, while she's on Fox.
You got it, Coach. We are Penn State.
Can you imagine in the pre-interview? He's like, "I'm going to say we are. Can you please say Penn State, or it's going to be embarrassing."
I'm going to throw it up there. You slam it down, okay?
There is a new trend in betting that should perk up yours.
Give it to me.
You can bet on Angel Reese missing her first field goal attempt.
Yeah, I saw that. And then the guy, and then she made it, and the guy's freaked out.
They're 1 for 6.
Or I thought they were 5 for 6.
They've only lost one time.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she's only 1 for 6 in making the shot.
Someone has coined. So someone did the math, and on Twitter I saw that it was 30% of her rebounds are off of her own shot, which is crazy. And then someone coined the term "me bounds."
Okay, I like that.
This is so good because it is. She misses a lot of shots. I give a lot of credit though to the broadcasters because there was one where Jonquel Jones just kept blocking her, but they made it out to be like Angel Reese wasn't getting embarrassed, that she was actually like a really hard worker tracking down all these rebounds. So credit to them, but it was she's got bad clips.
Josh, what is more unbelievable? Win since May 2nd. Scottie Scheffler 3 or the Colorado Rockies 3. Now, Scottie Scheffler's played in 4 tournaments. The Rockies have played 28 games.
Now, what was the question again?
So what is more, I should say, where you go?
Astounding.
Scottie has won 3 of 4 tournaments since May 2nd, where the Rockies have only won 3 of their 28 games played since May 2nd.
The Rockies is the more surprising thing.
Really?
Because it's baseball.
Scottie Scheffler's won 13% of his starts in his career. He's also won 12% of his major starts in his career.
But he also has a ways to go to catch up to Tiger. Tiger's pace. Tiger won, 75 of his first 75 of his first 151?
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
Or it might be 250. It's somewhere in those range. Mm-hmm. But it's the pace, Scheffler's got to pick it up. But also, Tiger was dominant for a decade plus. Scottie hasn't been around that long, so tough to say, well, I don't know if he's going to do it or not.
Wasn't Tiger 6 years younger than Scottie too, doing all this? Wasn't he 23, 24, 20? Scottie's 28. Scottie's got, I did look up on Google, what is the prime for a golfer considered? So it's 31. So technically he's not even in his prime yet. He's got about 35 to 40 majors in his prime. I'd set the over-under for major victories for Scottie Scheffler at 7.5. Would you go over or under? 7.5 major wins for Scottie Scheffler.
I saw that discussion on Twitter yesterday.
I think 7.5 is a proper number.
I would go under.
I would go over.
But
I would go over.
At the same time, no team in Major League Baseball history has gotten off to a worse start.
No. You would think that you could fall into on a getaway day, that you would fall into more wins than that?
The next worst team in the sport has twice as many wins as them.
Shout out Sox, baby.
Yeah.
They've turned it around. That's got to be great for Sox fans. That
Well, we're not the Rockies.
they did not have to live with being the worst team of all time for more than 6 months. It was a 6-month turnaround to be like, no, it actually could get worse.
Let's play a game with the Rockies. I will
Okay.
I will mention the name. You tell me if they play for the Rockies or I'm making this up.
Okay.
Oh, God.
This is great.
Are you ready?
I watched him play about a week ago, so I should be.
Ezekiel Tovar.
That's a guy. That's a Rocky.
I would go Rocky.
Okay.
Correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Zach Veen.
I'll go Rocky.
I'll go made up.
He is a Rocky. He's currently hitting 118.
Attaboy,
Homer
Zach.
and 2 RBIs in his 34 at-bats.
Okay.
Eddie Doyle.
Eddie Doyle.
I will say made up.
Yeah, I'm going to go made up too.
That is correct.
Good.
I have made that up. Hunter Goodman.
Ooh. I will say that's a Rocky.
Yeah, I'm going Rocky.
That is a Rocky.
Okay.
Do you guys know your Rockies? Get Nick Grimm in here. Adele Adams.
If you made up Adele, I would give it to you.
Now he's a Latin player.
Okay.
I don't want to give that away.
There it is. He's a Rocky?
I'm
Josh?
going Rocky.
He is not. I made that up.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Nice. That's a good one. Adele.
You didn't hesitate on the.
No, you
Yeah.
did.
Oh no, he's Latin.
You went right into it. You tricked us.
Nick
too.
Martini.
That's an actual player. I think he was a Sox.
Matt sounds confident. I'm going to go Rocky.
That is correct.
Nick Martini, I think, got his start as a White Sox.
Yes. Rowdy Bauer.
That is a. Whoa. Isn't that a Nebraska Cornhusker?
I don't know.
Bauer.
I'm pretty sure Rowdy Bauer is a Husker.
Are there 2 men named Rowdy in Major League Baseball?
So is it Rowdy Tellez, right? Is the other
Yeah.
one?
Looks like the villain in every children's baseball movie. I will. Okay, I'll go Rocky.
I think he's a Husker. I think Rowdy.
He actually is a
Yeah.
Nebraska Cornhusker football player.
He's a linebacker. He moved to safety, right? He was a linebacker and then moved to safety. He got shouted out by Matt Rule a couple times in the
This is a
pressers.
great game.
Kamir Prescott.
That's another Husker. Kamir's a corner, right?
Yes, he is.
There you go.
Okay, couple more here with our favorite Rocky players. Let me hear. I gotta scroll down through the Rocky lineup. Dennis Chapman.
Dennis Chapman.
Um,
Very generic name.
so generic, made up.
I'll go Rocky.
Made up.
It is made up.
Hmm.
He actually is on the Nebraska track team. But
That is funny.
if you've watched, so last week when the Rockies and the Cubs were playing, they do the starting lineup for the Rockies, and you're like, I recognize maybe 1 or 2 guys.
Who? Yep, he's an Oakland A already.
You're like, is it already September and they've expanded the rosters and they called everybody up? Because I don't recognize any of these guys.
That's another thing too. It's like I'm a very casual baseball fan. Okay, I'm not fully delved deep into it. I think most people can tell by listening to the show. But I still know like prospects. Like I still know guys who are coming up in organizations. Like I still know older players that used to be in their prime that now are kind of platoon dudes. They don't even have that. It's just a bunch of random guys. Which how do you even get to that point?
That's why it's so sad. Like at least when like the last few years when Chicago has been so bad,
Yeah.
like at least you
knew a
can
couple.
you can see like okay, that's a piece they can flip.
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna
Well,
become a World Series contender off of that, but like it isn't going to be this bad forever. Like I don't know where the light is.
They
for
had Tommy
Colorado.
Pham.
Yeah.
Fam. They had Paul DeYoung.
Who hasn't had Tommy Pham
That's
play
right.
for him?
It's a good point. Like they had Matt Albers. You're like, that's another guy who hasn't had Matt Albers. Like they had like guys that you were familiar with. Even last year, they had dudes like people knew who Yohan Moncada was and Luis Robert and Andrew Vaughn was a high draft pick. Like there were actually recognizable like, oh, that guy failed. That's not even there with the Rockies.
Imagine being the radio or TV announcers for the Rockies. Like it's June 2nd.
Okay.
It's not like the season is almost over.
Let me tell you something right now. The job that Len Casper did last season, listening to him because I had to produce his radio. We got to September, and I'm like, how is he still cheery? Like, how is he still excited? Like, how does he still love this job? Like even he was with JD in the booth, and like he was veering off a little bit like that, but Len brought it every single day.
Yeah.
And the way because you know this with baseball broadcast, they have a sponsor for a hit. They have a sponsor for an RBI. They have a sponsor for a home run. They have a sponsor for stolen bases. Well, when you're announcing a team as bad as the Rockies or White Sox, they don't get hits and they don't get home runs and they don't get RBIs. So it turns into, how creative can I be when reading all these advertisements? And watching Len Casper do that was one of the most impressive things I've seen in broadcasting. It's got to be depressing.
Their best starting pitcher has 2 wins.
So he's got 2 of the 7 wins or 9 wins.
Yeah.
That's kind of impressive.
So
only 3 of their starting pitchers have wins.
there's a guy I follow his wife on TikTok, Gomber. How's he doing?
No, he had a bad year last year.
Austin Gomber?
Yeah. Left-handed pitcher, wears 26.
Why do I know that name?
Because his wife is all over TikTok. It's actually, she's a really good follow on TikTok.
She's like more
they had a new addition to their family. But she travels to away games and shows you how they travel with 2 excitable young boys.
Like the golfer who got handed a baby with a stain on
Yeah.
the back of his clothes. Here, you've been golfing all day. Take this kid. Why do I know Austin Gomber?
It was even better when he won.
He was traded to Colorado. I don't think he was ever a Brave.
From the Cardinals, did time with Albuquerque.
Travis DeArnaud, is he still?
Travis d'Arnaud, he's an Angel now.
Okay,
he's still kicking around.
Yeah.
He before he went off, right? Became an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Started getting to TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that because I think he thought it was all right, I don't know if my baseball career is going to work out. I remember seeing him on YouTube and doing vlogs, and then all of a sudden he started to rake, and he was like, "All right, I'm good at baseball now. I'm not gonna
I can put down the phone."
Yeah, literally.
So Drew Goodman is the TV voice who, back in the days of the Big 12, Drew Goodman would do a lot of Big 12 football stuff. So he's been the TV voice for a while. I remember Ryan Lefevre coming on this radio station doing an interview. This is before the Royals really started to take off. He said that as a radio guy, because he did a lot more radio back 10, 12 years ago, he said it's awful. If you reach August and your team is not in the race,
oh God,
it is 2 months of hell. He said the only thing that keeps me going is working with Denny. He did. He said that. He said that on we interviewed him, and he's like, it's for a broadcaster, it's miserable to be out of the race when you hit August. It's June, and they're 9-50, and they're not even competitive.
No,
and you got every team that's the Mets this weekend. The Mets go, we have to win all 3 games. Even though most series, you win 2 of 3, you feel pretty good. They're like, no, we got to win all 3.
They held the Cubs to 9 runs. They held the best team, the best offense in baseball to 9 runs, and they lost all 3 games. How is that humanly possible? How does the ball just not pop off the bat a little bit more, in those games or those situations?
Give them credit though on their TikTok because somehow the Colorado Rockies showed up on my TikTok. They do travel days, so they show you what it's like to be a player with your luggage, and then getting on the plane, and how they put the equipment on the plane, and then where you're flying to.
Mm-hmm.
At least they're looking at that. That's positive content.
I was just about to ask, if
they have a popular mascot too in Dinger.
Yeah, if you're the Rockies, do you embrace this on social media, or do you just kind of, hey, final score?
I always love those. I always love when you lose, they just go final period.
Sarcastic final score tweet. Yeah.
Where do you think the Rockies rank amongst attendance in the MLB this season in terms of average attendance? Where do you think they rank?
Actually, I think not at the top, but I think they're in a good spot.
10th worst.
10th worst, so 20th.
Yes.
Will you want to put a number to it?
18th.
They're 16th in attendance.
Well, it's a beautiful ballpark to go to.
Right in the meaty middle.
There's a lot of out of town fans that come to Denver to watch their team play.
NL West is full of stars.
Oh yeah. It's just one of those things where it's you cannot talk about like, oh, let's move the team or anything like that, because Colorado actually likes baseball and they actually have a place they want to go and watch. If they can get 28,000 and be average, like an average MLB attendance team, while they're 9-50, that's incredible.
It's a great stadium. People like to be outside.
That's the other thing. It's not like they're trying to major league this team and move them.
No,
they're just bad at managing a roster, figuring out a roster.
They have the complete and utter support
they could be worse
next.
They could be worse next year.
Yeah.
Oh, we had that convo with the Sox too, because we were looking at the roster from last year's Sox game to this year, and I go, "Who's leaving?" I go, "Who is leaving, and who are you buying, and who the hell? What? Like, there used to be playing for the Rockies would be really, really cool. Like, it's a great stadium. The ball flies out of the park more. I'm gonna get better stats. Like, I don't really know the Denver area. I haven't heard overly terrible things about it. Why the hell would you want to sign to a 9-50 team?
They tried it one time with Chris Bryant, and it didn't work.
They were in the World Series a little over 15 years ago. So the Royals, they always say don't read the replies, so I did. The Royals just announced Caglianone.
Yeah.
Dairon Blanco got sent down.
Yeah.
So almost every tweet here is, I think you misspelled Michael Massey wrong.
When Hunter Renfroe got designated for assignment, that was brutal. I felt bad for him.
There's like the Storm Chasers didn't post this, the Royals did. I feel like there's some sadness there.
Yeah.
6 days with Jack. His fiance came into town yesterday.
Oh.
And then whisked away to go to Kansas City to fly to St. Louis.
That is brutal for the Storm Chasers, because you know that they were thinking this season, hey, we're gonna get Caglianone at some point. We're gonna have a really, he'll come in June. We'll have some great weather. There'll be a lot of people in the ballpark. It'll be active. We'll have one of the best prospects in all of baseball.
It'll be a launching pad in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna do some incredible things. Like, we're gonna get a ton of publicity because he'll be raking here. And then, eventually maybe in September, he'll be a late season call up, whatever. Nope. 6 games.
But they will have.
And he went 0 for 5 in one.
They will have a bobblehead next year. There will be a Caglianone bobblehead because he played at least one game. And there will be discounted T-shirts in the gift shop.
What was your favorite moment of the Jack Caglianone Storm Chasers era?
His first base hit was second base hit was an opposite field little dribbler against a shift.
Good moment.
That went down the third base line.
He beat the shift.
Well, they didn't put the shortstop on because they can't, but they had the third baseman way over in the hole, and he went the opposite way, much to the surprise of everyone. A little dribbler off the bat.
I remember when he hit a ground ball up the middle, and we thought it was going to be a hit and scored 2 runs, and then a fielder made a really, really nice play and threw him out. That was my favorite memory of watching Jack Caglianone play. That and seeing him in warm-ups and just being like, that's a big man.
Little nugget here. Thank you, Andrew. The College Football Hall of Fame 2026 ballot is out. Sue is on there, first ballot. I mean, I don't even think that's
It's not even a question.
Cam, this is a pretty good class. You'll have Mark Ingram.
Easy.
Cam Newton, Kellen Moore, Ndamukong Suh go in.
Robert Griffin?
There's some guys left over. RG3, I think if you win the Heisman, you go in.
Yeah.
This could be a really good class to go in with.
Ryan Leaf?
First ballot? No, he's probably been on it for a while.
On the ballot.
Might have to wait.
Hey, tough for Eric Bieniemy. So he's on the ballot again for 2026. He is good enough to be on the National Hall of Fame ballot, but he can't get his number retired at Colorado.
That's brutal. For a 5th-round pick.
Well, Deion Figures is number 2. So Deion Figures wore 2 at Colorado. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame, but that's not his number 2 that's retired at his alma mater.
Manti Te'o.
Oh, he's on the
ballot. I don't know. I like that definitely marred because of the whole girlfriend situation, right? That's like what we remember him. But he was wild. Like, he was so
Can you use
popular.
that against him when you're looking at a Hall of Fame?
No, but I think, unfortunately, we don't think about how
I
popular...
do not vote for people that have been catfished.
No.
It's a moral thing I have.
If you don't know that they're fake, How can we know that he really could disguise like what play was coming next?
If you're not voting for Manti Te'o because it got catfished, you're definitely not voting Ryan Leaf.
Let's just pick apart guys now. Then you're not voting for Bieniemy.
I would love to see.
You're not voting for Des Bryant.
Can we get Ryan Clark's opinion on whether or not RG3 should be in the College Football Hall of Fame?
Aaron Donald is on this list too. Sue and Donald are going to go into the College Football Hall of Fame in the same year. And both probably could go out and get you about 20, 25 snaps.
I was about
Aaron
to say
Donald
right
probably
now,
get you more.
They probably still could both play in the NFL.
Sebastian Janikowski is on the list.
Oh, what a moment in time.
Did he make the semifinals for the NFL Hall of Fame? Like, is he going to be a legitimate candidate for the NFL Hall of Fame? Because I know that there was I'm not saying he is, but I know that there was chatter and movement. Like, same thing with Vinatieri. Did Vinatieri already get inducted or
into the College Football Hall of Fame?
or in the just Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I believe so.
I think he was, right?
The coach on here that probably Chris Patterson or Gary Patterson, Chris Peterson, Ralph Friedgen, Dennis Franchione, Tommy Tuberville. Would that work into a schedule of running for governor of Alabama?
I do not.
How is Tommy Tuberville on this list? With politics aside, like just in football, Tommy Tuberville. Do you think of a Hall of Famer?
No.
What's his career?
I'm looking at it.
I do not have Adam Vinatieri in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Okay. Will he get into the Hall of Fame?
159 and 99 college record for Tuberville.
Who I think has a pretty good chance to be the governor of Alabama.
159 and 99. His most wins in a season was in 2004, when they went undefeated. Other than that, though, do you know how many double-digit win seasons Tuberville has had in his career?
1.
2. 13 and 04, 11 and 06. After that, he never won more than 9 games for the rest of his career.
But he coached Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech.
So he gets into the Hall of Fame? Is that the credentials?
Their time in Lubbock didn't match up, but
who was Travis Kelce's coach in Cincinnati? Was it
Butch Jones, right?
Good question.
Because
I think it was right before.
Because they threatened to kick him off. He tells a story about.
Didn't both of them get threatened to kick off? To get kicked off? Those Kelce's were riots.
I think it was Butch Jones.
What year would this have been?
So Butch Jones was there 2010 through 2012.
Yeah, it would be. Kelce got drafted in 12, right?
Or he just missed him. But he would have coached him at some point during his college career.
Because how old is Kelce?
Travis Kelce started his career with the Chiefs in 2013.
Yeah. So
so Butch Jones was his college coach. My tight end looks great, man. He looked good this weekend.
What do you
think?
Looks
like his life is back. He's gotten out of the spotlight, just doing podcast and being a good stay-at-home boyfriend.
Does he have a dorky haircut still?
No.
Okay, good.
He has a normal. Well, you don't see him very often without a hat on.
I thought he looked better with the high and tight.
Yeah, we get to the season, we do that.
Okay.
He doesn't let it grow out during the season.
Good. What do you think about him and his back hair? What do you think about that? Do you like your tight end with back hair or no back hair?
If my tight end is one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL this upcoming year, I don't care if he has hair or no hair.
Do you like your tight end looking like the Revival or FTR? Josh gets that.
I do.
I want him to be a top 5 tight end. And then I want him to say, we'll do it for one more year.
It's going to be pretty hard for him not to be a top 5 tight end. With the connection that he has with Patrick Mahomes, like they don't even run routes anymore. He just goes to space and he throws.
We're a little bit older.
I mean, who would
we showed our age last year?
5 guys above him? Kittle, then Bowers. So Kittle and Bowers, maybe Laporta if he can bounce back.
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. Mark Andrews came on at the end of the season for sure. I mean, if
I have Travis Kelce in my top 5. I just need him to stay in the top 5 this upcoming year.
I don't think there'll be a problem with that.
Have you spoken to Mr. Happer since last night?
No, not since.
Were they leaving this morning? They didn't come back right after the game.
No,
right?
They are en route now.
And I can't wait tomorrow to hear Fayetteville stories.
Stories from Fayetteville.
Of hanging out with the people in the hog pen.
We'll call it the Fayetteville Follies.
There were some, I wanted some follow-up from the 2 announcers that were doing the game when they would show crowd shots as the game was getting out of hand last night. They focused on the lady that was sitting in the front row that was wearing something on her head.
Oh.
It was some sort of a razorback, but it was bedazzled. There had to be more of a story there.
Okay.
It was a bedazzled razorback?
It was a bedazzled razorback. Some people care about their baseball there.
I missed that. Yeah, they do.
Is bedazzling? Bedazzled? We don't bedazzle enough things anymore.
Oh.
We don't?
I feel like bedazzling has been out. There's not as many bedazzle, but I can't say the word.
But maybe you don't hang around with
bedabblers.
You've upgraded. You don't hang around with that age of girls anymore.
So it's real popular when you're like 15 and then 50.
Yeah,
I feel like it's more like 8 years old.
Yeah, like the women that go to Bushwhackers over in Ralston.
Yeah,
they are bedazzled up.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I feel like if you want to see a lot of bedazzled stuff, you go to an LSU football game.
This is my Dutton Ranch jean jacket. I bedazzled it myself.
It's always the jean jacket. I don't know what it is.
Bedazzling on denim, I guess, pops.
Oh yeah.
You bedazzle, like you start out bedazzling on shoes, right? Although like there was girls who had real bedazzled shoes, and then when they grow up, they just turn it into denim. You know.
What do you have coming up on the show there, Josh?
We're going to recap all the regional action from over the weekend. We got Schaefer, we got Sam McKewon.
Is Connor Happer going to make an appearance on his own show?
You know what? I thought about it, but I mean, we did that like 2 or 3
times
last week.
It's becoming a bit.
But he would be on the bus, though, right?
Yeah, he'd be on the bus.
So that would be.
Just let him have a day off. He worked all weekend.
As you ask him a probing question about Ed Servais and should he stick around for one more year? Should he say, "Hell no, I'm not going"?
I'm not bleeping leaving.
You should book Connor on the show and then be like, "Hey Connor, can you just put on Ed?" You just hand the phone to Ed and then have an interview with Ed Servais and then give the phone back to Connor and then hang up on Connor.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Have a good show today.
I'm gonna try. We'll see.
We'll be glad when it gets back to normalcy for you tomorrow.
Yeah, I haven't seen Connor in weeks.
Austin couldn't come in at late notice?
He was unavailable.
Yeah.
I'll do it. It's fine. I'll do it.
All right. Well, have a good show.
Thank you.
Crossover is brought to you by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha. Online at everlevelconcrete.com. The Connor Happer Show with Josh Hodson comes up next.
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
Hello and welcome. Good Monday morning? I don't know. My whole week's thrown off. I was here yesterday, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I just have no idea what day it is now. It is Monday. I've confirmed that. It is June 2nd. I am Josh Odson, producer Josh, if you prefer, filling in for Connor Happer as he travels back home from Fayetteville today on the bus with the Blue Jays. Bussing with the Blue Jays. There's a podcast idea. Someone can have that. That's free. You take that. Don't even need to credit me. It would be nice, but I will not. I do not require it. Today on the show, we will talk to nothing but illustrious guest Mike Schaefer from Husker 247 joins us at 11:30. Sam McKewon, Omaha World Herald. You know him. You love him. He'll be here at 1 o'clock. We'll talk Australian rules football. I guess Nebraska secures their Aussie punter. And what does it mean for Mike Eckler and them boys as they prepare for the upcoming season? I will ask them because how could I possibly have an opinion on an Australian punter? But I am expected to, being in this chair here today. If you want to get in touch with the show, plenty of ways to do so. You can hit us up on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at 1620 The Zone, at Happer Show, or at producer_Josh. Let's see what else. You can email us. That is still acceptable. We'll read them on the air. 1620 The Zone inbox, of course, brought to you by Equitable Bank. They take banking personally. EquitableBank.com. The lineup today powered by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. And, of course, all the guests, whether they be now or later, come to you courtesy the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Remember, each week we're handing out a $100 gift card to the Sky Bar and Grill. They're inside the Prairie Flower Casino. All the details on that, 1620thezone.com. If you head to that website, 1620thezone.com, you can look at me in a room by myself. Got the video stream up there. It's also on Twitter. You can stream it on Facebook. We get around. We're video whores in that way, I guess. So I guess we're off and running on a Monday. Plenty of things to discuss. Lots of baseball from over the weekend. We will assess Nebraska's season after a regional loss. Was it a success? Was it a failure? Was it a net neutral because you kind of thought they'd lose in the regional round anyway? I don't know. We'll dissect that. We will, of course, recap Creighton's time in Fayetteville. Couple losses to the Hogs, who are the highest ranked team remaining in this tournament. So I guess how bad can you feel? If you're Creighton, you would have liked to have gotten another win or two for Ed Servais, but we will tie a bow on his career as the head Blue Jay there. And, of course, there's 6 Game 7s today, and that bracket in baseball can be very confusing. We'll update you on what happened over the weekend, what is happening here today. And, of course, we'll talk NBA Finals, I guess. I'm supposed to do that. We now know the matchup, and we're all waiting with bated breath until Thursday's NBA Finals, when the Indiana Pacers take on the Oklahoma City Thunder in what can only be described as a matchup for the ages. We'll talk about that. I'm not going to preview it because I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched 19 combined seconds of Pacers or Thunder basketball this season. But I will tell you what other people are saying about it, and that's important. Also, here to remind you today that Bill Belichick's buyout has dropped down to a measly $1 million, and North Carolina could get rid of all their problems with one stroke of a pen, but they probably won't. Today, if you, again, you want to get in touch with us, Twitter, email, best way to do so. We're on zonetv.live, Zone app. There's no shortage of ways to listen to us. You cannot escape me. I will find you, darn it, okay? Producer Josh Odson sitting in for Connor Happer today. He's back tomorrow. I promise. I haven't been in the same room as the man in like 10 days, and I'm having withdrawals. I'm a little sensitive about it, but we'll get through it tomorrow. So we'll get through it today, I guess, in looking forward to tomorrow. I'm a little punch drunk after board hopping a doubleheader yesterday. You'll have to forgive me if I stumble over my own words. The Connor Happer Show, producer Josh Odson in for Connor today. NBA Finals talk when we come back.
let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Bing bong, the Knicks are dead. Bing bong, the Knicks are dead. That's the theme song for this year's NBA Finals. The Pacers went ahead and did America a favor. They didn't do their own league a favor, but they did do America a favor and eliminate the New York Knicks from the NBA playoffs, setting up an NBA Finals matchup between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Adam Silver must be rolling in his grave, because if you thought Boston-Dallas last year was boring, have I got an NBA Finals for you. And before I talk about what happened over the weekend, and just very quickly on the weekend, we'll get to inside the NBA and all that stuff. Message to listener John. I know you're going to email me and say no one cares about the NBA. You might be right after the next 2 weeks, because, boy, this is a real barn burner, Pacers and Thunder. But Ben Stiller is beefing with everybody. He's a diehard Knicks fan, and that's okay. There's just, on like a surface level, there's nothing wrong with being a Knicks fan, but there's actual Knicks fans, and then there's the Knicks fans that you think of when someone is on TV being a Knicks fan. Why is John's Bing Bong better than the actual Bing Bong? I don't know. But Ben Stiller is I don't even, it's not a bit that he's doing, but during the NBA Finals, he got really, really upset with Pat McAfee, which that's the saving grace for ABC and ESPN and all of this, that they can use Pat, hey, Pat McAfee, you want to go to the NBA Finals every night? Because we would put you on TV if you were, and maybe people would watch. So he gets into, he didn't know who Pat McAfee was, and he's like, there was this guy yelling at me and calling me out, and that's okay. He's not required to know who Pat McAfee is, but he just, his tweets are funny, because it's here's one, deal with it, Reggie. Just he's the worst trash talker in the world. He wants you to know that, hey, he's nudging you with his elbow the whole time, right? Come on, it's fine. We're just playing games. We're just doing rip. Deal with it, Reggie. Ooh, I got you. He doesn't want to say anything so New York Knicks trash talky that people look at him all cockeyed, what is Ben Stiller doing? But in that, he's kind of turned around to the other side of that sphere where we're like, what is this soft trash talking you're doing? But many people had many words for Ben Stiller, and I guess I did too. See, we went into this Knicks Pacers series thinking, oh, this will be great. We'll have Spike Lee there. Reggie Miller's on the call for all these games. It'll be great. It'll be like old times. It'll be like that reboot from that thing I liked in the 90s. And, it's not great, but you're just happy to see everybody again, right? So, and then Spike Lee and Reggie Miller didn't do anything but fist bump each other before and after every game. That was it. So, is Ben Stiller our new most famous Knicks fan? He's not the most famous Knicks fan, I know that, but is he the courtside representative for glitterati at Knicks games now? It's him or Timothy Chalamet. And I don't like either of those options if I'm a Knicks fan. But regardless, we are set. This is going to be a long week because if you watch the Chit Chat shows, it's Monday. And the NBA Finals don't start until Thursday. And they're going to talk about the NBA Finals every single day between now and Thursday. And Kenneth in the YouTube chat, very smart man Kenneth is. Is it not still Spike Lee? I don't know. He's not an agitator in the way that he was. I guess Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet aren't, but I don't know. Who are Knicks fans looking to for, like, okay, my guy's going to be courtside? I guess it's still Spike Lee, right? But the Chit Chat shows, they're going to talk about this NBA Finals every day for the next, would that be 4 days, 3 days, however you count time. And here's a tip from your old buddy Josh when you're watching the coverage of this NBA Finals, specifically between now and Thursday. If somebody is offering you an opinion on this NBA Finals, and the words NBA insider or NBA guru, something NBA related, isn't next to their name, like if it's a Mike Greenberg, if it's a Mad Dog, if it's someone who is giving you takes, don't listen to them. They're lying to you. They're lying to you, and I'll tell you why. They have not watched a second of Pacers basketball or Thunder basketball this season. Maybe they watched the conference finals and have seen both of these teams play. But I'm telling you, in the regular season, they did not watch a Thunder game. They did not watch a Pacers game. Unless they're an NBA insider, they're a former player, like they're a real ball knower. If they're a take giver, they're lying to you. They have not watched the Thunder or the Pacers, okay? I want to help everyone listening consume media better. And that is my tip for you today. The take givers are lying to you when they say, oh, I know what the Pacers do. I know what the Thunder do. Now, the take givers are going to tell you Thunder in 4, Thunder in 5, and they might be right about that. But like the X's and O's that they're going to try and tell you about, dead wrong. They're lying. Don't believe them. Follow Jacob Padilla. He'll tell you what the Thunder are doing and what the Pacers are doing. It won't be me. I'm not going to lie to you. I respect you more than the Mike Greenbergs and the Mad Dogs of the world. I love you. I would never lie to you about having watched the Pacers. Also, that's the play if you're ESPN, right? To like, hey, Pat McAfee's going to be at the NBA Finals. You should watch. Maybe he'll mix it up with all the celebrities in Oklahoma City. Maybe John Mellencamp will show up and hit him in the back with a steel chair. Stay tuned. What a weird beef that was from the Eastern Conference Finals. Pat McAfee versus John Mellencamp. Do the Thunder have a person? Is there a Thunder fan? Like, I'm just genuinely asking because, again, I haven't watched the Thunder this year. There, I said it. Do they have like a fan? Do they have a celebrity who's like, I like that team. I like the cut of their jib. I'm trying to think. But I'm in a studio all by myself, so that tends to bring about dead air, and then alarms go off, and people are like, oh my gosh, is Josh okay? Is he an idiot? Yes, I'm an idiot, but I just stopped to think, so I wouldn't be an idiot on the radio. I can't think of like a famous Thunder fan, and that's okay. Will Kevin Durant like tweet about, hey, really hope the Thunder get this one or something? I don't know. But I can no longer exhaust any energy thinking about this year's NBA Finals because I'm probably going to talk about it 2 or 3 more times before the end of the finals, and then that's it, okay? That's all I got in me for Pacers Thunder. 11 o'clock hour 2 of the Connor Happer Show. It comes up next. Mike Schaefer joins us at 11:30. A lot more to come. We'll talk about the inside the NBA of it all when we come back on the Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone.
He has the latest sports news, expert analysis, award-winning commentary, and a pocket full of cabbage.
Can you give us an indication why?
Just in case there's a sauerkraut emergency. Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I am none of those things. I am merely a producer for a man who is all of those things. And that man is on a bus back home from Fayetteville today. Connor Happer out today. He's back tomorrow. We thank him for working so hard this weekend for us here at 1620 The Zone, calling Creighton baseball in the Fayetteville Regional. Didn't quite go their way, but they had a hell of a fight and sent Ed Servais out feeling like a winner. Didn't win the games, I understand, but baseball rarely ends the way you think it will, as the John Walker column states today. The Royals have posted a video to their social media. It is I'm going to go ahead and say it's a rather blurry video of Jersh sitting down with Cags, and he says, You've been doing a lot, or how are you doing? Are you tired? Are you feeling overworked? And he says, no, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And Jersh says, well, do you think you can help the team? And he's like, yeah, of course I think I can help the team. And he's like, no, do you think you can help the team up there. And then he points to the sky. And it is at that moment that I thought maybe Jack Caglianone was like dying. And no, he was not dying. He was merely being called up to the Kansas City Royals. And he reacts emotionally. Jersh daps him up. And then he asks him, I'm sort of watching this in real time, if you can't tell. The video sort of cuts after they dap him up, and then it restarts. And you can kind of tell the question was, why did you think I was calling you into this office? And Cag says, well, I thought it was because I hit the knob of my bat against the stairs in a bit of rage. And I was like, oh, he's going to bust me for that. But he's still sort of beside himself with relief. Jersh says, hey, go call your dad. Let him know. Let the fam know. I don't think you're going to the zoo tomorrow, as Monday would be the off day. Last week, in between the Salt Lake and the Omaha trip, there was there was media to do. There was a lot of like getting situated. Do they do onboarding in AAA baseball? I don't know. Like every other office in the world, but like, and then he played 6 straight days. So yeah, today was probably the day Jack Caglianone wanted to go to the zoo. And he will not get that opportunity as he's being shipped off to Kansas City, technically St. Louis. Say hi to Gene for us when the Royals take on the Cardinals this week. 12 AAA games is all we got Connor's beautiful baby boy Cags here for. So pretty. I'm a sucker for those videos whenever it's a player being called up to the bigs, or like you'll see it in spring training a lot where they sit the guy down and they're like, hey, you're going to be our opening day starter. And I'm a sucker for those videos. They are overdone, but the ones that are done correctly are done really well, if that makes any sense at all. So Cags getting called up to the show a year ago. He was preparing for a super regional, and now he'll be with the big league club. That's pretty cool. Inside the NBA, I told you I was going to talk about that. They and you got to be careful with the verbiage on this, but their stint on Turner ended over the weekend. They are going to be brought to ESPN in what, while being a very vague announcement, was also a, hey, we're going to let them do that show on our network. And everybody exhaled and had a sigh of relief and said, whew, okay. So Inside the NBA is not dying. Even though for the last 3 seasons, we've had these teary farewells, and Ernie has found the right words, as he always does, to say goodbye, even though it's not ever goodbye, because that show is, and that was even part of his address, I guess. They let him have the last word because he's Ernie Johnson, and he's great, one of the best to ever do it. But that was part of his whole thing was, hey, this show's going to go on. So many people got jobs at Amazon and NBC because they worked for Turner, and that holds a lot of clout in this industry, and we're very proud of that. We're going to go to ESPN, and we're going to do the exact same show. However, you ever watch the NBA on ESPN? How could they possibly do the exact same show? Oh, but Josh, you just turn the cameras on and let Shaq and Chuck go, right? Well, again, I ask you, have you ever watched NBA on ESPN? I'd like to reenact the NBA on ESPN halftime show. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Greenberg. Your score at halftime: Orlando 75, Phoenix 64. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're minutes away from the start of the second half. Orlando and Phoenix, whatever I just said the score was. We'll be back with your second half tip after this. You ain't cutting the checks you're cutting to have Shaq and Chuck not talk at halftime, right? Surely you would not just hire Ernie to have him read those 2 lines that I just read and play a bunch of car commercials in between, right? Surely Scott Van Pelt and his Sports Center will just wait for Shaq and Chuck, right? No, he won't. He won't. And that's not me saying that SVP is an egomaniac and he will never step aside. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's in his contract that he's the thing that comes up after any sport that airs on ESPN or ABC. It's always Scott Van Pelt sitting there waiting, going, hey, I'm Scott Van Pelt. We're going to talk about this game and one of the players who played it next. I guess he could wait until Inside the NBA is done, but isn't the best part of Inside the NBA the post game where it just kind of drags on, and then Chuck gets real cranky about it dragging on and decides to antagonize everyone else on the set? Yes, that is the best part of Inside the NBA. And that doesn't hit until at least 11:30. I mean, sometimes sometimes that show starts at midnight, but boy, something's gone terribly, terribly wrong if Sports Center with SVP is starting at midnight. I don't think he's going to wait. So ESPN is going to royally mess up Inside the NBA. Unless they figure out a way to do all those cheeky shenanigans during the pregame, which, I mean, that's a way to do it, right? Like, more people are theoretically watching it right before the game, in between Sports Center and the start of the game, sort of that little 15, 30-minute window there, right? I don't know. Bill Simmons said it over the weekend. I had already planned to say it today. So if it sounds like I'm just saying what Bill Simmons said, yeah, you know what? We agree in lockstep. ESPN is going to royally mess this up because it's not going to be the exact same clock. It's not going to be the exact same format that TNT used. And that's why that show works, is because they are afforded the space to just kind of goof around. And I don't think they're going to get that on ESPN. We go to the tweets of Rob Perez. You know him better, at Worldwide Wob. I'm just going to read it. It's a very lengthy tweet, but it's very good. It's very inside baseball when it comes to sports media on Inside the NBA moving to ESPN next year. 1. Sports Center with SVP is ESPN's flagship post-game coverage after big games of any league. Appearances and contracts are usually determined years in advance of fulfilling the terms, so I don't know how easy it is to change that show's scheduling if needed, or if it's even preferred by Bristol, a.k.a. Scott Van Pelt it's in his contract. He's the guy after a game. Now, sure, that can be altered. A manager can come into Scott Van Pelt and say, hey, we're changing what it is you do here. But I don't know if you want to rock the boat with Scott Van Pelt of all people, like one of the more gracious, like, I'm sure he's got somewhat of an ego, but like nobody's out here going, SVP is an egomaniac. He will not let this happen. So, like, maybe you can get around that, but it is something you have to get over or around or through or past, however you want to word it. We continue from Worldwide Wob. ABC games are not only broadcast network games, but weekends too. They're not going to have the boys, being Inside the NBA, replace local news. So if they put them on ESPN after, that could conflict with other live sport properties. So, like, Hey, that's it here from Oklahoma City. More post-game coverage right now on ESPN. Well, what if something's on right now on ESPN? What if there's a college basketball game on ESPN right now, or a Thursday night college football game? I don't know, something where they can't put Inside the NBA on ESPN right as a game ends. Well, you got all those other properties. Just put them on ESPN2. You didn't pay Charles Barkley to be on ESPN2. Like, that's bad value, right? Back to Worldwide WAP. Everyone keeps saying, don't worry, they're coming back. But I do worry about the potency of what makes this show so great, a.k.a. the postgame, being diluted by scheduling inconsistencies. Does it hit the same on a regular season weekend day/night as it does on Thursdays? Will it still be an hour plus and let them improv? They could push back a rerun of Bones at 1 a.m. on TNT very easily, but not tip off kickoff of a different live ESPN property. Is SVP's show after games just going to disappear to make room? That too seems unlikely and wouldn't be a consensus preference amongst even the biggest of Inside the NBA fans. Meaning, like, they could do whatever they wanted after the game was over on Thursday night, because that was the time. Because, TNT, excuse me, they had the Tuesday game, they had the Thursday game. They really only brought in Chuck and Shaq for Thursday nights after the All-Star game, right? So, yeah, go as long as you want, because what's going to get higher ratings? The guys on Inside the NBA ripping each other, or a rerun of Law and Order? Like, push the Law and Order episode back 15 minutes. Nobody cares. You're not going to have that flexibility on ESPN. Pre-game halftime, back to Worldwide WAP. Pre-game halftime shows aren't even technically Inside the NBA, which is a variety show. This is all separate from the corporate Game of Thrones happening behind the scenes at Disney, where those executives are notorious for cutting each other's throats with different agendas, priorities, and not all may want this to succeed. Too long didn't read. There are only so many sequels as good as the original for a reason. Which brings us back to my thesis statement. ESPN is going to ruin Inside the NBA. They can change the format, right, to allow for more shenanigans. But halftime's only, how long is halftime? 12 minutes? 15 minutes? 20 minutes? But however long halftime is, that's how long it is. You can't make it longer. They either need to get to the shenanigans right away or pause and hold. There's still some analysis. Also, you're probably going to be working in Michael Wilbon into this new version of Inside the NBA. You're probably going to be working in Stephen A. Smith into this new version of Inside the NBA. So like, what does it look like? And they don't have answers to those questions right now. They don't need to have answers to those questions right now. But we've got a lot of questions. Like, the post game, like, you're not going to send them to ESPN Plus. Like, you're paying way too much. Like, you're putting them on after the game. Are you going to let them get silly, or is it going to be a rush job to get to the next property, the next game, the next sports center, the next whatever? Like, it's going to be different. And this weekend there was it's going to be sad that our show is going off of the air. And, it was very sad. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to sit here and tell you that those tears over the weekend from the Turner crews, plural, weren't earned. But they kept saying, it's going to be fine, guys. It's going to be fine. We're going to ESPN. It's going to be great. It's kind of like a high school graduation where you're sitting with your friends in somebody's basement and you're all very sad because this is about to change, but to make yourselves feel better, you're like, no, we're going to talk all the time. we're still going to be friends. We're going to be the best friends anyone's ever seen. We got the whole summer. We can talk all summer. We can hang out all summer. And then, yeah, sure. I mean, we're going to go different places, but we'll see each other all the time. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Why are you worried? Don't worry. No, I'm very worried that this thing I like is going to be vastly different. Because, boy, that show is a tightrope act. And first of all, Ernie's the only one that knows how to work it. You cannot Ernie's not here today. Mike Greenberg's here. They will run Mike Greenberg over with a steamroller, which kind of would be funny to watch. But like it's going to change. It's going to be different. ESPN, and then if it does change, if it does become this different thing and the internet hates it, because no matter what happens, the internet's going to hate it, whether it's exactly the same or completely different, the internet's going to hate it. Then ESPN has this boondoggle, this albatross around their neck where, well, Chuck and Shaq aren't really bringing us the ratings we thought they would for Inside the NBA. So they're going to give them the greenie work where, hey, you're showing up for everything it is we do. College football playoff megacast. Hey, tune into ESPN News and watch Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal watch the game. Hey, it's an NFL football doubleheader. On one channel, it's Bills-Eagles with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. On this channel, it's Chargers-Raiders with Joe Tessitore and Charles Barkley. And Charles Barkley the whole time is, what the hell am I doing here? And that, I know I keep going, and well, that cycles into this, and that cycles into this. What if Charles Barkley's unhappy? What if Inside the NBA changes? People don't like it. ESPN doesn't get their ROI. So they make Charles Barkley work college football playoff games. They make Charles Barkley work Monday Night Football. They make Charles Barkley show up on Sunday Night Baseball or whatever. Auburn makes the College World Series and Charles Barkley is in the booth with Carl Ravitch. He's like, Carl, why am I here? Do you think Charles Barkley is just going to be okay with his workload doubling, tripling, quadrupling with all these other ESPN properties? Or do you think he's gonna go on like a Dan Patrick show and be like, I hate it here. Get me out of here. I would bet the latter. And while that's fun to watch, who's to say, we can all see this coming. We can all see this going very, very poorly, right? Now, it could go very well. It could very easily go very well. You know, they all come in. Ernie circles the group together beforehand, and he goes, gentlemen, we're all going to be professionals about this. We're going to do what our new bosses tell us to do. And it could go very well. But I bet it doesn't. And I hope it goes well, for the record. I love that show. It's the best studio show we have in American sports. But it's going to change. I can't wait for College Game Day to be on the campus at Georgia, and they invite Ernie Johnson to be guest picker. That'll be a moment. That'll be fun. There's a lot of fun parts of Inside the NBA coming to ESPN. Very few of them involve Inside the NBA coming to ESPN. I hope there are some smart executives at ESPN who know what they're about to do. Have you watched ESPN lately? I'm betting that's not the case. Connor Happer's show. We'll talk Husker things. We'll talk non-basketball things. How about that? What everybody likes. Non-basketball things. Nebraska got themselves a new punter. I will ask Schaefer what my opinion should be on that, and I will allow him and him alone to form my opinion on Nebraska's new Australian rules punter. We'll ask him if Nebraska baseball season was a success or a failure or something in between. And I don't know. I like baseball, so I'm probably going to ask him about the Guardians just because I haven't been in the room with Connor in like 10 days, so I have no idea what's going on in the AL Central. So I will need to be brought up to speed on all things AL Central, and we will allow Mike Schaefer to do that with us next. It's the Connor Happer Show. Producer Josh sitting in the big chair today on 1620 The Zone.
Come the Guardians.
Yeah, I have statistics to back up that we have people that listen.
Mike Schaefer.
Anytime there's sort of a debate as to who can do something, Happer would always put his name forth. For sure.
Husker 24/7 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I could be a star.
$11:30 on a Monday on 1620 The Zone means it's Schaefer o'clock. Mike Schaefer, Husker 247 joins us. Mike, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have someone to talk to.
Yeah, I am happy to be that someone in this situation. I am willing to go wherever you would like to go. If you don't even want to talk sports, if you just want to talk about movies that you've watched lately,
oh wow,
what you've ate, I think, Josh, you should just, whatever parameters were set by Connor, which I assume gave you none, and your bosses, which I assume gave you less, I think we should just blow them wide open and go wherever you want to go. So if it's sports, great. But if it's not, I'll be your Huckleberry.
Wow. Okay. Couple things. Last Monday was Memorial Day, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Monday before that, you were on vacation. Is that right?
Yeah. So it has been a little while.
Okay.
Connor and I talked on Tuesday after Memorial Day.
That's right. But I was gone.
Because he missed me, which I thought was very nice of him. Even after I skipped his birthday text.
Whoa. He's a real mensch, that Connor Happer. So I don't know what's been happening in the AL Central for the last 2 weeks. Could you catch me up?
The Tigers are still winning the division. I think Cleveland is in a clear second place position at this moment. The Royals have called up the most exciting Royals prospect since Bobby Witt, which I know that was just a few years ago, but I think it's worth pointing this out. In my lifetime, basically since George Brett, the Royals have had one player I've ever been envious of, and that is Bobby Witt. And there's a chance maybe they could have two. So that would be kind of exciting. Like, for the most part, their organization has just been devoid of star power. And, like, that's not to say Salvador Perez isn't really good, or I wouldn't have wanted a catcher like that. But there's a big difference between being one of the better catchers in Major League Baseball, and like Bobby Witt is potentially behind Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge as like the third best hitter in the entire sport. So, that's kind of cool. And then Jack Caglianone is he's got like mammoth power. He could set a new max exit velocity record in Major League Baseball. And for people that don't know what that means, it means he hits the ball really, really, really hard, and it usually goes pretty far. So the Royals are actually like interesting instead of kind of just getting by on cunning and guile.
Are the Tigers are they still winning at like a huge clip?
I don't think it's that. I think they've cooled off a little bit.
Okay,
but I think they're going to be that team that starts off really, really fast and then just kind of like they'll make the playoffs. I have no doubt on that. But I don't know that they will be this level of hot throughout the rest of the year. So they'll probably cool off a little bit. The AL Central will have that moment where like all four of those teams are within like 3 games of each other. Could be pretty exciting. I still think it's a very anybody's division at this point. I do think the Tigers with Skubal and their pitching are the safest bet to make the playoffs out of the group, and they have the biggest advantage right now with a third of the season over.
I teased this earlier, and I'm allowing you, Mike Schaefer, and you alone, to form my opinion on this Australian punter that Nebraska has signed. What am I to think of this?
Well, I could give you the upside case. I could give you a downside case.
Ooh.
I think it's hard to know what to think of it because this is a guy that hasn't punted in a college football environment, and he will be coming over. And the sort of thing that strikes me is like Nebraska has no real safety net. Like, this is the way they want to punt. They have no other rugby style punter on their roster. They clearly went out and this guy's job, as opposed to Jack McAllister, who's a vet of the college football scene, or Camden Cook, whose dad, Sam Cook, is one of the greatest punters in Nebraska's history. Mike Eckler looked at that and he wanted a rugby-style punter because that's what was successful for him at Tennessee. And I guess the big thing is, if it goes well, if it's anything like it was at Tennessee, they had an unbelievable punt coverage unit. Teams were unable to return much in terms of yardage, and that alone would have saved Nebraska a ton of field position in the previous year. Now, the other cool thing about a rugby-style punter is that he won't just be standing there if Nebraska's line in front of him just chooses not to block anyone and get blown up in the way that we saw Brian Buschini have a couple times each year, because he will be sort of rushing out to the side at times to punt and try to play angles and different things that way. So in some ways, it'll make things less exciting in that you won't know if Nebraska's punter will get maimed on the field. Just like, last year, there was always that chance. That seems less likely here. But it'll also be exciting because the ball will look funny coming off of his foot, roll in different ways, and it'll look a little bit different. And I think Nebraska's experimented with Daniel Turney and rugby-style punting in the past, but I have a little bit more confidence with the success that Mike Eckler has had to just sort of blindly accept that this will go well in 2025.
But there is a more than 0% chance that he's going to take that thing and run with it at least one time, and it's going to work, and it's going to be all we talk about after the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, that there is that possibility, because he'll kind of just start drifting out to a sideline. If the defense and everyone turns their back on him, then he can just run it and see where he can go. And so that is a real possibility. I mean, that will be in the bag for Nebraska. I don't know how often it'll happen. If you set the over-under at 1, at like a 0.5, I would be inclined to take the under. I don't know that it'll happen in his freshman season, but once he gets comfortable in the college football scene and you figure out what kind of athlete he is, because you don't really want to, again, you only have one of these. So if he took any kind of hit and got hurt, then you sort of lose your entire punting strategy. So I would take the under in 2025, but for his career, it will certainly happen should he be a multi-year player.
Switching over to baseball, successful season, unsuccessful season, net neutral season for Nebraska baseball.
I think ultimately the goal of Nebraska baseball is to get to a regional. They achieve that. If achieving your primary goal is considered success, you would view it as a successful season. If you're someone who feels like that isn't enough to merit success, you would view this as an unsuccessful season. I think it's really an eye of the beholder thing. For me personally, I think it was a very up and down season where we saw some of the highs of what Nebraska is capable of doing. But more than anything, we just saw a very inconsistent program all the way to the finish. And so that in itself is a little bit troubling, because you would like, for as many years as Will Bolt has been here, that there's something that they're building upon. But I think they're going to be starting over in some ways in 2026. You're going to have a little bit different roster. They had some veterans that'll be gone over the last couple of years. But ultimately, I mean, I think for Nebraska, it's a trip to the regionals and being a top 4 Big Ten team is what my expectations are coming into each season for the most part. They achieved one of those two. I don't have like a lot of just massive long-term concerns. I just sort of think they're bumping their head against the ceiling. Like, I don't know that I anticipate next year their chances of being a super regional team are going to be that much higher. And so that could be a bothersome thing for people. For me, it's more of, I want to see a team that's able to put themselves in regional play, because one of these years you're going to get the opportunity to punch your ticket. You're going to be able to cash in on that. And the more often you can go to regionals, as we've seen, there's a lot of college baseball carnage over the last weekend. You can't get there. You can't get to the College World Series if you don't get to a regional. So as long as they're doing that, I'm pretty happy with it. And I understand that's maybe a low bar for some people, but I would be more than happy to point out it's been 20 years since they made it to the College World Series. Like, it's not, I think it's unreasonable to expect that this is a team that should be one of the 15 or 16 best in college baseball. I don't think that's what they are. They're a top 30 program, and I think as long as they play like that, Will Bolt should be fine.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well. Like, well, it was kind of messy how you got there, but I mean, you got to the place you intended on ending up. I mean, you started the year ranked, so maybe you thought you could work your way into hosting a regional, but I mean, you got to a regional. You didn't go 0-2. Like, you're fine. Like,
one of the things that I always find sort of fascinating is, like, would you rather Nebraska has the out of this world season and hosts a regional and loses it anyways? Or would you rather they're just consistently getting to region? Like, I'm not saying that you have to pick one or the other, but Nebraska and Oregon, Nebraska and Vanderbilt, Nebraska and Texas, Nebraska and a whole host of teams all had the same weekend. It all ends the same way unless you're the team in the stadium holding up the trophy at the end of the year. So, like, it's kind of splitting hairs if it's, well, they need to play better in a regional, or they, like, you would love to see that they're consistently at least getting to Monday or playing for the opportunity to win a regional. I think that needs to be the next step. We've seen them in that position before, but they have to kind of achieve it. I think a lot of it to me is I would like to see them take the next step in terms of what that roster looks like. I see some of these other teams they go up against in these situations, and I think Nebraska has one or two guys that maybe would play for some other programs. They're going to have to find a way if they can increase their overall, roster in that regard. And then, I don't know if that's development. I don't know if that's being better in terms of recruiting. I think they run into issues in NIL because I don't know that Nebraska is going to pump the sort of money that some of the Southeastern Conference teams are willing to put into it. I don't know if they can. I don't know that Nebraska is a big recruiting draw in the college baseball world anyway. So I think you have to win in kind of unique fashion. And when your pitching was as rough as Nebraska's was this year, I think it's a little bit of an achievement they even made it as far as they did. I mean, how many times were you having to go to relievers out of the bullpen where, the first number in their ERA was starting at a 5 and going up? That's a tough way to live.
It is. I mean, I know it's not as simple as this, but you're almost dependent on a kid in Omaha, Miller, Lincoln saying, when I grow up, I want to play for Nebraska baseball. Everything else be damned. And he turns out to be great.
You need that guy also to be great.
Yeah.
And this isn't Drew Christo had a nice career at Nebraska. I think most people, and maybe even him himself, would say the expectation was probably a little higher for a guy that we had been hearing about when he had just hit high school, and he was taken, I think, as a top 10 round pick, and he turned down Major League Baseball to come to Nebraska. Your thought process is you really need that guy to kind of pan out. And he had a nice career, and I don't want to take anything away from that. But I think the expectation is that if you get players like that, if you can keep them home, you're hoping that it's a little bit better than it ended up going.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 247. You allowed me the space when we started to talk about anything I want, and I'm out of sports questions because you answered my question about recruiting and building a roster before I could ask it. So good job by you. Seen any good movies lately?
I have not been to the movie theater itself in quite a while.
Before or after the birth of your child?
I have been to one, maybe two movies post Hudson's birth, largely because my wife loves movie theater popcorn, and I think we went largely just because she wanted to eat the popcorn.
Hell yeah.
I went because I wanted to watch the movie, but different conversation. I can't even remember what they are, so they weren't probably particularly memorable movies on top of that. I think one of them was the Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling, The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
I went to that last summer. And I went to Twisters. Those are the two movies that I have seen.
Okay.
In theaters post Hudson's birth. On stream, so I don't even know if I've watched much on streaming. I feel like I've been more in a TV show run. I finished The Man on the Inside. Have you watched that on Netflix with Ted Danson?
I've wanted to. I enjoy when him and Mike Schaefer team up.
Yeah, it's pretty much as you would expect it to be. It's a lighthearted comedy that is actually just like more thoughtful and nice than what you anticipate television to be. That's been pretty good. I I didn't get on the Severance train as everybody else was on it, but I did finish the first season a week or so ago, and I was intrigued enough. I've started season 2, but I haven't gotten very far into that.
I did about 4 episodes of that, and I said, I need more. I need more breadcrumbs. I need more answers.
That's fair. I think because I just sort of like ran through it, knowing that people were excited about season 2, I was able to talk myself into at least getting into season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'm destined to finish it, but that's a possibility. I cannot think of the name of the movie. The last movie that I have watched recently was a 1990s high school comedy with Heath Ledger, and I cannot remember the name of the movie. I'd never seen it before.
10 Things I Hate About You?
Yes, was encouraged to finally check that out. And that was actually a really enjoyable movie. It holds up very nicely. It's like a 1999. I didn't know Joseph Gordon-Levitt was even in it until the movie started. David Krumholtz. There's lots of actors that I enjoyed that were in that movie. Allison Janney is a hilarious, 4 minutes in the whole movie. So good stuff.
I did not think we would get a David Krumholtz reference on the show today. And if we did, I would have guaranteed it came from me and no one else. So good job by you.
You, like anyone else who knows David Krumholtz's name, enjoy anytime you get to see him when he's on the television.
No one listening knows that name, but if you Google the face, a lot of people will go, oh, yeah, that guy.
He's in the latest episode of Poker Face, which I don't know if you watched that or not. But
I do not have heard good things.
Yeah, that's why he's probably top of mind for me. I watched that last night, too. So.
Most people would know him from, the Santa Claus?
Yeah, I think that would be one. I think the role for me, it was a David Simon show about New York City that I can't even think of the name of now, but he was really good in that. He's good at sort of playing all types of roles, but he's really good when it gets to be sort of a seedy individual. Mm-hmm. He's good at playing seedy.
Yes, very. All right, Schaefer, I'm going to allow you to go. I thank you for talking with me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have said David Krumholtz's name on local radio and wondering how many people have no idea who that is, which probably 98%. So if it leads to just one person watching more David Krumholtz, the world is a better place.
That's right. What a great message to send out to the universe today. Mike Schaefer, thank you for the time today.
Hey, Josh, have a good one. And hopefully Connor makes it back and you get to go back to your normal chair and he gets to go to his and all is right in the world starting tomorrow.
I'd love to be just reading things on the internet instead of talking about what's in front of my face on the internet.
I wish for that for you.
All right. Thank you, Schaefer. Talk to you next week. All right. There he is, Mike Schaefer. Husker 247. Go consume everything they do over there. Follow him on Twitter at Mike J. Schaefer. Tweet him your favorite David Krumholtz role. You might need to look up who that is first. He was in Oppenheimer. I think he gained a lot of weight for that. I'm gonna assume he gained weight for the role and wasn't just hired at that weight. Do I know that to be true? No, absolutely not. Gosh, I'm looking at his IMDb page here. He was in Walk Hard. He was in Superbad. I don't remember him in either of those films. I mean, he was the elf in Santa Claus. That's what people know him as. Yeah, he was Goldstein in Harold and Kumar. Gosh, I want to say, was he in the American Pie series in some form or fashion? Why do I think he was? No, he wasn't. Okay, I must be confusing him with someone else. I apologize to the estate of David Krumholtz. Okay. Mike Schaefer, we thank him for joining us. We will step aside when we come back. Odd News with Odd Son. That's me. I'm washing and drying the dishes today on 1620 The Zone.
The Connor Happer Show. Follow us on Twitter at Happer Show for all the latest news and views. We may even say something interesting once in a while.
Unlikely.
Really, guys?
Well, these polymers aren't as flexible as batch K3.
Researcher Laurie is stretched thin.
Did you get the vulcanization analytics from V66? Oh, wait, are these rubber scores from last week?
She needs to hire new lab.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
Connor Happer Show 1620 The Zone. Connor is on his way back from Fayetteville today. We'll talk regionals, Creighton, Nebraska. We're going to spend the whole noon hour talking about regionals as the road to Omaha narrows. Today, 6 game sevens, 6 regional finals, winner take all. Today, by the time our head hits the pillow tonight, we'll know all the super regional matchups. It's a fun time of year. It's a busy time of year, and we'll take you through it all. It's also a confusing time of the year. If you just kind of casually follow college baseball, some of those brackets can be confusing. I know you listening, you know that bracket inside and out, but we're trying to bring more people into the tent, right? I don't know why, if you're watching on zonetv.live or 1620 The Zone or YouTube, that like I have to do this thing with my hands, but I'm doing it and I literally can't stop. So something to watch for. Odd news. We do this every day. Normally it's more fun because there are two people here to laugh about the story, but it is college baseball. And so that means Karl Ravech is making his way slowly but surely to Omaha. And I know a lot of people don't watch Major League Baseball. They don't watch Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. So you got to wonder, how's old Karl doing? Is he doing good? He might. Every time he messes something up in Omaha, it must be the podunk nature of Omaha. We just don't have the facilities that those big MLB palaces have. And our small digs at the Chuck Box, they must mess with Karl Ravech. He must be fine everywhere else that he goes all year round talking about baseball. It must be a flawless 11 and a half months of the year. And the 2 weeks he gets here is when he messes everything up. Well, last night on Sunday Night Baseball, Karl Ravech uttered the following phrase. Well, he didn't utter the phrase exactly, but he commented on Shohei Ohtani struggling, which is odd because he had 2 hits in the game Karl Ravech was calling, and he's also second in the sport in home runs, maybe third at worst. I think Cal Raleigh passed him. Big dumper. Where you at, Stibbs? Give me the home run numbers of the big dumper. That's a fun phrase that you can say. And someone who doesn't follow baseball has no idea what you're talking about. The Dodgers thrashed the New York Yankees 18-2 Saturday night in the Bronx. Ohtani did not drive any of those 18 runs in, but he did get 2 hits and scored 2 runs before getting removed from the lineup because the game ended at the score of 18-2. Imagine if Shohei Ohtani got hurt towards the end of an 18-2 game. 2 hits and 2 runs might be a good night for most major leaguers. Karl Ravech and ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball crew, not impressed. Ohtani struck out during his first at-bat Sunday, and it prompted Ravech to highlight the struggles. On the 1-2 to Ohtani, oh boy, filthy pitch on a changeup. And Shohei, who struggled yesterday in that 18-run game by the Dodger offense, strikes out. What the hell are you talking about, Karl Ravech? It is the best player in baseball? Certainly, again, no worse than third best baseball player in the sport who you're saying is struggling. I will now pull up Shohei Ohtani's stats and tell you whether or not he's struggling. He's hitting nearly 300 with 22 home runs, 37 runs batted in. He has that same number of walks. He has struck out 66 times. So you want to talk 3 true outcomes. He has 67 hits. My take, Shohei Ohtani, good. There, I said it. I had the audacity to say something that Karl Ravech would never. So if you're wondering, Karl Ravech still has no idea what he's looking at. Truck spill of the week. I want to thank Dan for sending this in to us, which is great when the audience does the work for me, especially on a day when I am hosting and producing. If you could just all send me every story that you think is interesting so I know what to talk about. Approximately 14 million bees escaped after a tractor trailer carrying more than 70,000 pounds of pollinator hives rolled over Friday in northern Washington state. The commercial truck hauling the honeybees overturned at about 4 a.m. near the Canadian border. It is unclear what caused the truck to roll over. The hives came off the truck shortly after 9 a.m., which freed the bees. So that truck was just laying in the road for 5 hours before they were like, well, we got to do something. Is that my understanding of the story? Authorities said the public should avoid the area and stay at least 600 feet away from said area. While there is no general health risk to the public, anyone who is allergic to bee stings or has concerns should check the State Department of Health website on bees and wasps. Authorities said the road where the truck overturned was closed for about 24 hours to allow the bees to rehive and find their queen bee. More than 24 beekeepers came to assist with the rescue. The goal was to save as many bees as possible. At this time, on-scene work is done. Hive boxes from the overturned truck were recovered, restored, and returned to use. By morning, most bees should have returned to their hives, and those responsible for their delivery will be in charge. Initially, officials said that some 250 million bees escaped, but they corrected that tally to 14 million bees on Saturday, citing a beekeeper who assisted at the scene. Did he count all of the individual bees, or how did he know? I'm going to trust his judgment because he's a beekeeper and I'm not, but I do have questions. Moving on to this takes place somewhere between San Francisco and London. I'm not sure where. Yes, that is a wide swath of our planet, but come with me on the journey, if you will. A British Airways cabin crew member was arrested at Heathrow, that's in London, after colleagues discovered him dancing naked in a business class lavatory during a transatlantic flight. Now, there was a lot to unpack from that sentence, so I'm going to read it again. A British Airways cabin crew member, that's a worker, was arrested at London Heathrow Airport after colleagues discovered him dancing naked in a business class lavatory, that's a bathroom, during a transatlantic flight. The incident occurred on a San Francisco to London service, prompting an investigation into suspected drug use aboard the aircraft. Gee, you think? The steward disappeared from his duties during meal service on the busy flight, carrying approximately 470 passengers and crew, or as they say in plain talk, souls. Flight attendants initiated a search on the Airbus craft when the crew member failed to report for his assigned responsibilities, serving food and beverages to passengers. All right, everybody, line up. It's time to serve these yahoos their dinner. Hey, where's Bob? Bob? Where could Bob have gone? I don't think he was missing long, but nevertheless. Colleagues discovered his absence as they distributed meals throughout the cabin during the 10.5-hour journey across the Atlantic. The in-flight crew supervisor located the missing steward in the Club World cabin restroom, where he was found completely nude and dancing. The discovery shocked the crew supervisor, who immediately took action to address the situation. Flight attendants quickly clothed the steward using spare pajamas designated for first-class passengers. The crew then escorted him to the premium cabin section, where they secured him a luxury seat for the flight's duration. Okay. So, he got to quit his job. He got to tell a really cool story about quitting his job. He got a first-class seat on an international flight and some very comfortable pajamas. What's the downside for this guy? Yeah, okay, he had to spend 8 hours in a holding cell while the police were like, hey, what drugs did you take? I'd tell him everything. I'd be like, yeah, no big deal. I'm not asking what the crime is. I'm asking what the downside is to this person. He got to take drugs? I've never taken drugs in my life, but you know what? I'll bet this guy enjoyed himself. Police arrested the flight attendant immediately after the plane landed. Medical personnel assisted the crew member, who required wheelchair transportation from the aircraft. The steward received medical attention as part of the emergency response protocol. Okay, that seems less fun, but unless there's something I'm not aware of, I think the pros outweigh the cons on this one. Headley on our YouTube chat, maybe the line of the day. It would be a lot easier to talk to yourself from 10 to 2 on drugs, Josh. Yep, that would probably help me in my current situation, Headley. Thank you. Hadn't quite thought of it like that. Yeah. You know what? I'm pro this guy. I don't have his name. It wasn't released in this story. This 2-page story, by the way. I don't think it warrants 2 pages, but here we are. I don't know. I think the guy's okay. I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong. He did something wrong. Drugs are bad, okay? But in this instance, no harm, no foul. I mean, he lost his job. He's absolutely fired, not coming back, but there's lots of other jobs. There's lots of other things you can do. It's a gig economy. You can piece a couple things together until your next real career comes through. That's the odd news. Whoa, we'll step aside. I did not follow the clock on that segment. Nebraska baseball, successful season, unsuccessful season, what I'm calling a net neutral season. We will discuss next on 1620 The Zone.
He does it the only way he knows how. With his massive sports brain sprinkled with a smidgen of rabble-rousing. Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Noon hour on 1620 The Zone. Producer Josh Johnson filling in for Connor Happer. Today, he's on the road back from Fayetteville. We'll get all the Fayetteville follies tomorrow from Happer, who will be back. We will be at full strength tomorrow for the first time, and I literally don't remember when. I think it's been about 10 days since him and I have been in the same room together. Let's see. Let's try and figure this out right now. We can do this. We can do this. Not at all last week. Memorial Day, I was gone Tuesday. He was gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He went to the Big East tournament Thursday, Friday. I think he did the show on the 22nd, but he did it from Ohio. I think Wednesday the 21st was the last time we were in the same room together. It might have been Tuesday the 20th. I'm not sure. Platt Cat, you might be the person to know the stats on this one, but we will welcome Connor back tomorrow with open arms. Not the Creed song with arms wide open, with open arms, which I'm sure is a song someone else has done somewhere. I'm not of music. I can't place it for you. Nebraska baseball falls in the Chapel Hill regional. No, I don't want the bowling bracket. Computers. Can't live with them, can't live without them, right? Nebraska drops their first game on Friday to Oklahoma, 7-4. Ends up beating Holy Cross on Saturday, 4-1, advancing to another game with Oklahoma. Husker fans, I'm sorry. I do have to say it. It ended in a final score of 17-1. I am not here to dunk on you for losing a baseball game 17-1. That's not what I'm doing. I have to report the news. I have to report the facts. It doesn't matter. You lost. You're it was the second loss. You could lose at 100-1. You could lose at 2-1. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You lose, you go home. So I'm here to ask the question, and I understand that I'm maybe not the right person to ask this question. I canceled this team a long time ago. They, in spite of me, or as I would call it, motivated by me. They go on a run. Spartan outfielder drops that baseball, spurning a Nebraska rally that ends in a second consecutive Big Ten tournament title. So they get to the regional. They go 1-2. Ran into Oklahoma a couple of times. Oklahoma's still in it. They'll play a winner-take-all regional final at 2 o'clock today against regional host number 5 overall seed North Carolina on ESPNU today. So I ask, successful season, unsuccessful season, or just kind of neutral, just kind of, it is what it is. Preseason number 23. Fans around here, specifically the diehard fans of that baseball team, are always the goal is to host a regional. That wasn't my personal goal as just kind of a fan of baseball who would believe it or not, would like the Huskers to do well. There's only 16 regional hosts. And I can understand the logical leap of, hey, we started the year ranked 23rd. No reason you can't jump up. What is that? 7 spots and host a regional? Yes, I counted on my fingers if you're watching along on YouTube. I'm not ashamed. I don't care. No reason you wouldn't think, hey, we can jump up 7 spots. We can improve our stock 7 spots and host a regional. There was some good non-conference competition on there for Nebraska, and and then your ace goes down almost immediately, and the plan changes. I think for me, it's probably a net neutral, like maybe just like a tick disappointing because you had that tiny little number next to your name to start the season. The goal was a regional. You got to a regional. Sure, it didn't look and feel the way you probably thought it would look and feel in February, but you did get there. And I can understand if you want to nitpick, you want to split hairs, you could say Nebraska needs to be in a regional final. Nebraska needs to be, going 1-2 in a regional and losing that second game the way they lost it isn't the goal. And I understand that. Like, yeah, the goal is to not lose 2 games to Oklahoma on regional weekend. The goal isn't to fall 16 runs short of the regional final, but Stumanji had some great numbers for us. He also had a great take. I don't know how implementable this take is, but I would like to see it be toyed with. New rule, you can't be a national seed if you don't have actual dirt on your infield. A lot of turf, a lot of carpet at these SEC schools. I did not realize how far we've come on I thought in the Southeast, it would be like, yeah, it's a baseball field. There's grass, there's dirt, because it's the Southeast. We have the optimal weather for baseball. But so many carpets hosting baseball games this weekend. I didn't know. Oklahoma left more runners on base than Nebraska in their 2 games, despite outscoring Nebraska 24-5. And I'm not saying this to rub it into. I swear I'm not doing a thing. We're going to talk about Creighton in the next segment, and they lost a bad one over the weekend as well. Oklahoma 19 left on base, Nebraska 18 left on base. Nebraska suffered its biggest loss in postseason history yesterday. That's obviously not the goal. But if you can take a step back and look at the Nebraska program, are we talking success? Are we talking not success? I think it's probably a push for me. I just think you were in the regional fight. Yeah, you probably want to get to a regional final. But you came up a game short of that. Yeah, the vibes weren't great the whole year, but you pieced that thing together in the weirdo Big Ten tournament, and you had some fun moments along the way. Beating Vanderbilt was fun. The back half of the Big Ten season, when that team always, it seems, has their back against the wall. And that's when they perform really well. And, there's something to be said about being in a foxhole with, a team of dudes around you. Like, hey, it's us against the world. And you just go out there day in, day out, and you're working for the guy next to you. Now, would you like it to be that way all the time, even when your back is not literally up against the wall? Yes, of course. And you don't want to rely on, quote unquote, turning the switch on, but it's nice to have that. That's a good function of this Nebraska baseball team year in, year out. Now they get themselves in holes every year that they're miraculously able to claw their way out of, but they are able to do it. You do have to sit there after something weird happens to Nebraska baseball and go, you can never count them out. So I'm going to go push on Nebraska baseball season. You would like it to get better. We talked about it with Schaefer. I do kind of feel like the roster construction is super important. You got to have borderline geniuses filling out your roster for Nebraska baseball. You got to have 6 Jonah Hills from Moneyball figuring this thing out. Like, hey, we found this guy who plays in in Idaho. He's a great guy. No one's offered him anything, but I mean, he just hits nukes all the time. Like 47% of the time he hits a nuke. Okay, we got to go get him, right? Or you need the guy who plays in Omaha or Millard or Lincoln, or, somewhere in the state, and says, I don't want to play for an SEC team. I grew up wanting to play for Nebraska baseball, and nothing else matters but having that really ugly block N on my hat. I've wanted that since I was a child, and nothing will sway me otherwise. Like, hey, you're good enough to play at Tennessee. You're good enough to play at LSU. Would you like to play there? No. The little boy that I used to be wanted to play for Nebraska. And I'm like, and then you need to flip that guy and have him be great, right? We talked about that with Schaefer. Like, the roster construction is really important because you're not going to get the buku bucks that Arkansas is getting to steal the Cam Kojals away from us. Like, you got, and you can't just go, okay, give me 2 arms and 3 sluggers and we'll be fine. We'll get the rest. Like, no, you have to, like, attention to detail is important, right? Like, you got to get every guy on the roster to be a contributor. So, like, not only do you have to look harder to win on your Big Ten baseball roster, like, you also need them to hit. Like, not in the, like, the baseball ping, I got to hit sort of way, but like on the hit or miss in recruiting sort of way. Like, just every single one of them has to hit. And then the thing Nebraska baseball has not done very well, you got to stay healthy. Like, I know it's baseball, it's a long season. Every team, I feel like the manager from Major League, even tough guys get sprains. That's my manager from Major League impression. What do you think? So, yes, I see you all mentioning Iowa Western in the chat. I love that. I have it on my hat right here, Iowa Western. You see this little thing that's the Reaver logo is inside of? That's a home plate for baseball. At least I assume, although it doesn't really say baseball anywhere on the cap. Have to ask Travis about that. Travis, this is a baseball hat, right? Part of the thing you can do when you're hosting and producing, you can stop the show dead in its tracks to ask people you think might be listening questions. I asked Stibbs earlier for some Cal Raleigh stats, and he clearly wasn't listening because I never got those big dumper factoids that I was looking for, which, again, just a great sentence. You can, on a sports radio show, you can just ask for big dumper stats, and it doesn't mean what a lot of people think it means. He's the catcher for the Mariners. Look it up. So lot of issues ahead for Nebraska, and those are not Nebraska-centric roster construction issues. Those are every team in the Big Ten. Those are every team north of the Mason-Dixon line, right? Like, it's just harder to get the players because A, they're not paying for them, and I forget what B is. Like the weather. Who do I want to go play in baseball paradise in the SEC or the ACC? They're paying and it's beautiful. Or do I want to, I hear Ann Arbor's lovely this time. Like, no. Like, you got to work 3 times as hard to get a baseball team that's half as good. Like, let's see who's in the super regionals right now. We'll cover the sport as a whole later. Louisville, UCLA, Big Ten. Big Ten got one. Doesn't really count as a northern school, though, am I right? UTSA, Florida State, Duke, Arizona, West Virginia, Auburn, Coastal Carolina, Arkansas, all south of the Mason-Dixon line. Do you know where the Mason-Dixon line is? I couldn't draw a map. West Virginia definitely fought for the South, right? But they might not be physically north of the Mason-Dixon. I don't know where that thing ran. But, those are all teams, like, I'd be curious, like, Coastal Carolina, former national championship, like, baseball school, Greg and Myrtle Beach. How does Coastal Carolina do this? Like, Are they just like, hey, we're a baseball school? There's so like you could throw a rock and hit talent. So they just get everyone's quote unquote leftovers. Hey, but you could say Nebraska baseball has their back against the wall in recruiting too. And that's when Nebraska baseball thrives. Am I right? Yeah, let's look at it positive like that. I like leaving it on that note. So we'll come back. We'll talk about Creighton and their weekend. They also lost a bad one. I will point out bad things about them as well. We will trying to keep it right down the middle here. We don't have to do the J-Sker thing today. Creighton got beat by Arkansas. Nebraska got beat by Oklahoma. We don't have to do that today. Both teams ain't playing baseball anymore. Okay? We'll be back. We'll talk Creighton, 1620 The Zone. $16.20 The Zone, Connor Happer Show. Producer Josh hosting for Connor today. Don't worry, I'm still producing in case you thought that maybe I'd get a break of any kind after producing 2 baseball games yesterday. But I love my job, so it's fine. Do you love yours? Yeah, that's what I thought. Women's College World Series on our television here in the studio, top of the 5th. Well, now middle of the 5th. Texas leads Tennessee 1-0. Again, middle of the 5th there. If Tennessee were to win that game, those two teams will play again at 1:30. Spoiler alert for what to watch later. A couple things to clean up from that last segment. Platt Cat. Hi, Platt Cat. As I talked about, or I screamed at the clouds more or less, hey, how does Coastal Carolina keep doing this? Josh, Coastal has a kid on his roster from Columbus, Nebraska, LOL. Well, dang it. They're taking our kids. Nebraska can't let this happen. Coastal probably offered him a McDonald's bag full of cash, which is completely legal now. I had questions on where West Virginia is in relation to the Mason-Dixon line, something I could have looked up before opening my mouth and speaking, but decided not to, and El Scorcho is here to correct the record. West Virginia branched off from Virginia because they were anti-slavery, to which I responded, what I think of West Virginia versus what West Virginia is are two very different things. More emails from you. John, no H. He did email me about my NBA segments. That's right, plural, multiple NBA segments. 20 minutes on Inside the NBA. How does anyone do that? Radio replay page, 1620thezone.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. I think he sums it up pretty perfectly on Nebraska baseball. Hi, John. For what it feels like Nebraska wants for their baseball team, I would think this season was acceptable. I think Nebraska should want more for this team, but I'm not signing the checks. Bingo, John. I think, there's talent in this state. You're obviously, you can't keep it all, right? Like, things are going to happen that are out of your control. But with the amount of talent on this state, the support the team receives, I think we all want more for Nebraska baseball than the university care. Like, it's a puzzle piece, right? There's only so much money. Obviously, yes, you can just keep throwing money at Nebraska baseball until it wins something, but like, you don't have to. How much more are you going to get out of it if you do? So I'm kind of right there with John. We agree in lockstep a lot today. I don't love the NBA right now because its finals is Thunder Pacers, and we want more for Nebraska baseball. So that is where we are at with all of that. You can tweet the show at 1620thezone, at Happer Show, at producer_Josh. Plenty of options there. Equitable Bank inbox. I take banking personally there, So Nebraska, their season's done. Creighton, their season also done after a couple of losses to Arkansas, who all of a sudden finds themselves to be the highest ranked team left in this tournament at the 3 seed. The 1 and 2, Vanderbilt and Texas respectively, are no longer dancing, which is wild to me. We'll get to this in the next segment, but the 1 and the 2 don't make the supers. The number 1 team, Vanderbilt, doesn't even make the regional final. And then, they're both SEC teams. People forget Texas, SEC school. Rode in hot, wrote a lot of checks with Jim Schlossnagle, literally and figuratively. And they're not dancing anymore. And the Texas A&M fans are laughing, which is kind of funny because, Texas A&M didn't even make the tournament, but it's one of those things like, our blood rival is feeling pain, so I no longer feel my own pain because I'm laughing at your pain. We've all been there with somebody before, so I get it. I get it. I'm not going to get on here and go, Texas A&M can't open their mouths about Texas. No, those two teams will always talk bleep to each other. So Creighton gets off to the dominant victory on Friday, 11-4. A lot of fun. And then Saturday night, a lot less fun. 12-1 loss to Arkansas. I think some of those home runs from Arkansas still haven't landed. And then Sunday, you get up on North Dakota State 10-3. You think, hey, this is great. This is a lot of fun. But there was still a lot of baseball to be played as Creighton walks it off, their first postseason walk-off win ever, 11-10 win over North Dakota State. It forces a second game of the day for Creighton, a second game against Arkansas over the course of the weekend, and that game features a lot more home runs from Arkansas, and Arkansas eliminates Creighton 8-3. And quite frankly, I don't even think it was that close. Creighton struck out 19 times in that game. One swing of the bat scored all three of Creighton's runs. It was a 3-run homer. But so, I mean, 8-3, that's, you got beat. It's not 12-1, but yeah, Arkansas really dominated Creighton, really dominated the regional as a whole. I'm going to let Connor say this tomorrow because I think he will. But if he doesn't, I want to say it today. I believe it was in March or April when Connor said Arkansas is the best team in the country. Now, of course, that obviously that ebbs and flows. That torch gets handed off from team to team and back a few times over the course of a long baseball season. But as it stands right now, with no 1 or no 2 in the field, Arkansas has to love their chances of getting to Omaha. And unfortunately, that did mean the end of Ed Servais' long career at Creighton. John Bishop and Connor Happer are closer to Creighton baseball than I. They're in there week in, week out. I'm gonna let them. They said the nice things about Ed in the post game. I'm gonna let Connor come in here tomorrow and say more nice things about Ed Servais. I'm going to let John Bishop do that this afternoon. Tip of the cap. Like, I'm going to kind of leave it at that with Ed Servais. Tip of the cap. A ambassador of the sport from anyone who talks about Ed is always talking about how, he's one of the caretakers of the game. He's everybody says it's kind of weird how everybody says almost exactly the same things about Ed. Like, nobody loves baseball more than Ed Servais. Nobody's a better caretaker of the game. Nobody's a better ambassador for the sport than Ed Servais. So, like, we're all saying the exact same things about him. So, and that's not a bad thing. I think that means that they're true to some extent, right? Like, everybody has kind of summed up Ed Servais the exact same way, which, you're not a lot of outliers there. Nobody offering a different form of those words, so they must be true. I'm gonna kind of focus on next year. Creighton baseball, like I'll play it now. I'll play it on the front end for y'all here. Let's go. Where's it at?
Honk honk.
There, let's go 2.
Honk honk.
Double honk honk for, I think Creighton is set up for success long term in the future. And success is going to be a very broad term. Like, what is success for Creighton baseball? Is it a regional appearance? Is it a super regional appearance? Is it getting back to Omaha? Like, expectations versus what success is are two very different things, as we've discussed with Nebraska baseball. Like, I'm very interested to see where the Blue Jay baseball program goes from here. Rumor has it the schedule, they're going to go to some places that will be very exciting for Creighton baseball fans to see that program go. And I mean that in like the literal sense. Like, they're going to schedule them some games that are fun and exciting, and we'll test them for the month of May and the month of June. We'll test them for postseason baseball. so that when they get into a regional against Arkansas, like, I'm not saying the moment was too big for Creighton, but like, those are two different types of ball clubs. Like, you can see the difference. You can see the disparity in Arkansas and Creighton. Like, just any guy in that lineup hitting absolute nukes for Arkansas. Meanwhile, Creighton struck out 19 times in last night's game against Arkansas. So I'm excited to see what they do from that. I'm excited to see what they do from a recruiting standpoint. They want to grow what Creighton baseball is. From my outsider's perspective, just kind of talking with Connor or talking with John or like reading things from reporters, they want to grow this thing. It's not enough to, well, if things go right, they'll make the Big East tournament. Maybe they can even win it. Like, I feel like that might not be the goals for this team moving forward. And not that a standard was lowered under Ed Servais, or not that a standard was lowered when this team moved to the Big East, but sort of like Nebraska baseball, they thought when they changed conferences it would be one thing, and it became another. Which I don't fault Nebraska or Creighton for that. The college athletics landscape has also changed, and how do you play with that? So we'll see what Creighton baseball can become from here on out. And very exciting times down there for Creighton. Real quick, though, I want to shout out before we take a break. We'll come back. We'll cover all the game sevens today. There's 6 of them, 6 true regional finals in college baseball today. Shout out Garrett Langrel. It didn't go well. It didn't go as you'd expected it to. And Ed Servais sort of alluded to this, like, people kept asking him, like, you disappointed to end your career right there, which, if you haven't seen the video, Arkansas baseball tweeted it out. I would assume Creighton baseball has tweeted out the same video in the same way. The post-game handshake between Dave Van Horn and Ed Servais, and it has the closed captioning so you can tell what they're saying to each other. Boy, that's beautiful. Like, we talk about how college sport, I know I'm supposed to talk about Garrett Langrel here, but allow me the deviation. We talk about all that's wrong in college athletics a lot. We basically spend all summer talking about how college athletics are dead. They aren't what we grew up with. That right there, that little moment between Ed and Dave post game, it is hitting Ed that, they kept showing him at the end of the game on the television broadcast. I don't know what they were saying. I was listening to 1620 The Zone, the Superior broadcast. Connor Happer, John Bishop doing an excellent post-game show, produced by me, and it was also excellent producing by me. But the two of them shaking hands, saying nice things about each other, like, there's still sort of that. Gosh, how do I explain what I'm thinking? I know that's my job. Just sort of that sportsmanship between the two. Like, they have a history with each other, and there was respect there. And coaches always respect each other, right? What's the line when you ask a coach about another coach? Like, I respect the hell out of that guy. But to see it in a moment like that is pretty cool. There's still some moments these sports can deliver that are semi-pure. Like, I understand, like, somebody's gonna tweet me or email me like, Josh, there was a camera right there. They knew what they were doing. Like, he wasn't gonna say, hey, bleep you, man, on the way out the door. Like, what? There was a camera there. Like, okay, so it wasn't like, but it didn't feel performative in any way. It felt like two coaches like, hey, man, hell of a run you had. Good job. Always love competing with you guys. Thanks, Dave. Your team is very good. I would like you to win the whole thing so I can say I lost to the national champion. Like, hey, okay, don't jinx it. Thanks, Ed. I'm not far behind you. All those things that were said. It was a very nice conversation. I I urge you to seek out that video. I saw it on Arkansas Baseball's account. I'm sure Creighton did something similar or shared it themselves. But the purpose of this was Garrett Langrell closing the door on North Dakota State when the game had slipped away was probably not in the plans for Garrett Langrell. He ends that first game Sunday, starts the second game on Sunday. What was it? I think it was maybe 2 hours in between those two games. He goes 2 2/3. He gives up 6 runs, 6 hits, faced 15 batters. Like, boy, that's an unenviable position. But dude took the job. Like, yes, sign me up. I'm not gonna not do everything in my power to drag this team to a game on Monday. And Garrett Langrell sort of fell on the sword. Valiant effort, didn't quite work, but man, just what a gutsy performance. Like, again, it didn't go the way he wanted it to. It didn't go the way Creighton fans wanted it to. But as a fan of a team, you love to see a guy step up and go, "Coach, put it on my shoulders. I can do this." Now, win or lose, like, you're like, damn, I love riding with that guy. Like, that's cool to see. And so props to Garrett Langrell. We'll tell you who else is still playing baseball after the last two segments. We covered teams who are not playing baseball anymore in Nebraska and Creighton. We'll tell you who may or may not be coming to Omaha in the College World Series. We'll do it next on 1620 The Zone.
Talking Connor.
The Connor Happer Show with Connor Happer and Josh Otson on 1620 The Zone.
Hi, Dad. I love you.
Make the right call. John Higgins Weather Car, the home of the roofery.
If the roof on your home or business received hail damage from the recent storm, there's only one call to make for an assessment. John Higgins Weather Guard, the local, trusted, and proven choice. No one has installed more DaVinci roofs, and there's a reason why John Higgins Weather Guard is the nation's leader.
John Higgins Weather Car, the home of the roofery. Make the right call.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Here comes the clown.
$16.20 The Zone, the Connor Happer Show. Producer Josh hosting today. Connor's back tomorrow. He's on the road home from Fayetteville after working really, really hard all weekend long. So told you in this segment we would update the regional fields. 6 true regional finals today, 6 game 7s in the sport of college baseball today. We got Sam McKewon coming up in less than 10 minutes if I can shut up and get to the point. TBD on that, though. We're just going to go right through the bracket and tell you everything that you need to know right now. Number 1, Vanderbilt did not even make their regional final. They were getting no hit on Friday against Wright State. Somehow, some way came back in that game to beat Wright State 4-3, and then subsequently lost on Saturday to Louisville and on Sunday to Wright State. So Louisville comes out the winner of the Nashville Regional, and they are in the Supers. They are awaiting a winner in Game 7 tonight. Southern Miss, the 16th overall seed and host. They play Miami. This game happened because Southern Miss beat Miami last night, 17-6. So we'll see if Southern Miss can survive and advance in their own regional there. Florida State is in the Super Regional after advancing unscathed through their own Tallahassee Regional, including 2 wins over Mississippi State. We've got a Game 7 in Corvallis tonight. Number 8 overall seed Oregon State against the Big Ten's USC. That's right. It still counts. I love that after the Pac-12 dissipated, those schools always seem to find each other in whether it be football bowl games, the March Madness tournament, or here in the baseball tournament. They always seem to find each other, whether it's scheduling that kind of puts them together or what. But old Pac-12 buddies, Oregon State and USC, getting together there. We have a Game 7 in Chapel Hill tonight. Number 5 overall seed North Carolina fell to Oklahoma last night, so they will do it again, run it back tonight in Chapel Hill. The winner of that game will face Arizona in the Super Regionals. It was the Eugene Regional, and Oregon went 2-Q in their own regional. Lost Game 1 to Utah Valley, 6-5, and then lost to Cal Poly, 10-8. Arizona ended up beating Cal Poly last night, 14-0, to advance to the Super Regionals there. One Super Regional matchup is set. Actually, 2 of them. We'll get to the other one, but our first Super Regional that we know is set. Number 4 overall seed Auburn hosts Coastal Carolina. One of those 2 teams will advance to Omaha. The other Super Regional that we know of, kind of an interesting one, UCLA versus UTSA, Big Ten stalwart UCLA, taking on UTSA, who beat Texas 7-4 last night. And on, what would that be, Saturday, they beat Texas twice in this regional, 9-7 and 7-4 respectively. So no weasel wins for UTSA. They took down the number 2 overall seed, Jim Schlossnagel, and them boys in Austin. The Oxford Regional will have a winner-take-all Game 7 tonight. Ole Miss came out of the losers bracket to beat Murray State last night, 19-8. They will run it back tonight in that regional. winner of that game will take on Duke, who breezed through the Athens regional. But Josh, Duke doesn't play in Athens. That's right. After beating Binghamton 20-4, Georgia fell to Duke on Saturday and Okie State yesterday. So Duke still alive. We have a winner-take-all. Game 7 in Baton Rouge tonight as number 6 overall seed LSU takes on Checks Notes 27-33 Little Rock. Little Rock beat LSU last night to force this game tonight. I think we know which way that is going to go, but boy, what an upset if Little Rock can pull it out tonight. The winner of that game takes on West Virginia, who swept the Clemson regional. Clemson falling to West Virginia and Kentucky over the weekend. So West Virginia on to the Supers. We know Arkansas went undefeated through the Fayetteville regional. They are the highest remaining seed in this tournament. They will face the winner of Tennessee and Wake Forest in the Knoxville regional. Wake Forest beat Tennessee last night to force a winner-take-all game today. We'll run this all back quicker during the What to Watch segment, but very quickly, Louisville versus Southern Miss Miami in the Supers. One of those teams is all three of those teams still alive. Follow me here. Not an SEC school. So that's one non-SEC spot in the College World Series. UCLA versus UTSA in the Supers. That's another non-SEC spot. Florida State versus Oregon State or USC. That's a third non-SEC school guaranteed. Let's see. SEC team available there. SEC team available there. SEC team available there. There are 3 guaranteed spots to non-SEC teams. We'll see if that changes, if that ebbs and flows over the course of the weekend. We got Sam McKewon up next. I want to talk to him about Nebraska baseball, Australian punters, and the road to Omaha, of course. We will invite the World Herald columnist on next on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Treasure this summer at Funplex, Nebraska's largest water park and rides. Rush down a towering drop slide, race for first place in the go-karts, or maybe float your cares away on the lazy river. Hungry? We've got treats, eats, and even private cabanas to kick back and chill. And don't miss the all-new Shipwreck Chutes, dual slides with twisty turns and our biggest splash yet. Bring the whole crew and treasure this summer at Funplex. Get tickets now at fun-plex.com.
Sam McKewon is the newsman. Sam McKewon, Omaha World Herald. On the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the Connor Happer Show today. Connor on the way back from Fayetteville with the Creighton baseball team. He'll be back tomorrow. Right now, I have the pleasure to be joined by Omaha World Herald columnist Sam McKewon. Sam, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
We are. We're doing great. We're just watching some softball on TV. I know you're a fan of softball.
Oh yeah.
What do you make of Texas?
Right
Texas and Tennessee. Texas a couple outs away from advancing to the championship series.
Yeah. Well, Texas is pretty good at not softball team's better than the baseball team.
It sure seems that way, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good for Texas, and hopefully they've. Shoot. So long as they're going to have the thing, they may as well play Oklahoma, right?
I kind of like. I know we're kind of anti-SEC here, but that's kind of the matchup I'd like to see, right? Texas, Oklahoma for a national championship. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yep. And they're evenly matched this year, so I think it would be apropos, and a lot of people would watch.
Sam, all day I've been trying to get as many opinions as I can on Nebraska baseball season. Success, disappointment, or just kind of a push?
I think a push. I think this team was expected to make the NCAA tournament, and it did that. So anytime you win either a conference regular season or conference tournament championship, you can't say the season was disappointment when you haven't gotten beyond a regional in a while. I do feel like, Nebraska baseball's 2-decade profile is this is kind of who it is. You know what I mean? Like over the last 20 years, there's only been 19 tournaments, right? Because they canceled the one in COVID. But over the last 19 tournaments, they've made 10 regionals. They're 10-20 in those games. And of the 10 wins, only one of them in 2021 against Arkansas came against a power conference team. So all the other wins were over teams like UC Riverside, and Holy Cross, and Niagara. And I'm not trying to, poo-poo NCAA tournament fans, but the reality is that Nebraska is below the power conference teams at this point, and based on the score differential in those games against power conference teams, quite a bit below. And so how do you get, when data can tell you a few things, and what data tells you about where Nebraska baseball is over the last 10 times they played a power conference team in the NCAA tournament, they've been outscored 9.1 to 3.8 per game, right? Runs. And that's a huge differential. Got to find a way to score more runs, and your pitching's got to get better too. And somewhere in there, Nebraska's got to narrow the margin and alter the conversation, and they just haven't been able to do that yet.
And as for Creighton, we tie a bow on the career of Ed Servais. What's the takeaways from Creighton's time in the postseason this year?
I think Creighton had a great season. I thought they had a hell of a tough draw. Drawing Arkansas is really a tall task. I thought Creighton did a great job of battling in Fayetteville, and you know what? In a different universe, if Creighton's a 3 seed, in the Oregon regional, or Creighton's a 3 seed, and just a different setting, Clemson's regional. Maybe we're talking about Creighton in the super regionals today. They got what I considered to be the best team in the country in Arkansas. So tough deal there. They battled all the way to the end. You have to tip your cap to Ed Servais and the program, and the work that they've done. And now they're going to be under new management. The new coach is going to come in. He's going to put his fingerprints on it, and put his stamp on the thing. And
the ongoing challenge with Creighton baseball is something that ultimately Creighton can only partially control. And that's the fact that they're affiliated with a league where the majority of the teams in it don't really take baseball that seriously. And there's only so much that Creighton can do about that. So they have to go out and they have to schedule really aggressively in the non-conference and go play some teams and play up, so to speak, the way that Xavier and Connecticut did. Of course, neither were rewarded for doing that. But that's what they went out and did. And then you've got to go into the conference and you've got to play every game like it's absolutely crucial, because you're going to be playing teams that really don't care that much. And I'm not trying to be rude to Villanova and Georgetown, but they don't. And so, like, you can't lose to them. You got to beat them all the time. And I think Creighton can be, a moderately powerful program. It's going to be very challenging over the course of however many years to pull that league up, and it's not easy to do. So Creighton's got its work cut out for it, but I do think that what they did this year they can sustain.
Is there anyone still left in the field that you'd be really excited if they came to Omaha?
Well, as a person who works for the World Herald and loves it when you have big crowds here and followers, of course I want to see LSU and Arkansas at this College World Series. Like, yeah, the College World Series is a better event when LSU and Arkansas are here.
100%.
So absolutely, and now LSU's got a little bit more work to do. And maybe they're playing each other. It's possible that LSU and Arkansas are playing each other to come here. I think, in fact, that's the case. So,
LSU would play West Virginia. I believe LSU and Arkansas would play in the first College World Series game against each other.
Right. So that'd probably be your Saturday night game.
Yeah.
I would like to see Arkansas and LSU here. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't cry if West Virginia was here either, though. I think that would be fun for Country Roads to come to town, and I think they'd probably travel pretty well, and because they've never been here, or they haven't been here in a long time. So West Virginia is a team that of course you root for. On the other side of the bracket, I don't know. I mean, you got Coastal, and I think Coastal is a great story. Oklahoma may well make it up here. Obviously, they got to play North Carolina today. That would be one to watch. That's interesting. And yeah, you want a Cinderella in there too. So if you can get a Cinderella story in the deal, an Arkansas Little Rock, or they're obviously playing LSU, but one of those, a Murray State. You want sort of an eclectic. You want a couple of powerhouses. You want a couple of teams that maybe haven't won the thing before, but they've got a fan following, and then you want a scrappy underdog. And so I thought the field, was it last year that had Oral Roberts, or was it the year before?
I believe that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was about as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
So Oral Roberts was in it, and LSU won the national championship. They're going toe-to-toe with Wake Forest, who is an incredible team. Meanwhile, you got Tennessee and you got Florida. That was one hell of a College World Series. I remember that from 2 years ago and thinking the College World Series is as good as it's ever been in these last 2 weeks. And that was a lot to say given what it had been at Rosenblatt. And I thought that was the first year. I'm like, yep, this all fits. And this was about the 2 best weeks I can remember. So you want that. You want star power, you want an underdog, and you want a couple of teams in between.
That series was great because you had the right recipe, right? You had the big brands, you had the little underdogs, and then within that, you also had huge megawatt athletes, individual stars. You had Skeens, you had Louder, you had all these other guys. That was about as perfect as a College World Series can be.
It was, and I mean, think about what Jack Caglianone's done just recently, and he was part of that series too. And of course he was part of it last year. And I don't know, maybe this is the year Florida State breaks through. Maybe this is it. This is, you can tell this is a year where there's no team. I mean, Arkansas hitting on all cylinders is very good, but this is not that year where like you're intimidated by anybody. This is an LSU year or Tennessee from last year. Maybe this is Florida State's year. They have a team that can go get it done, and finally get sort of over the hump, and they're going to have whoever makes it on that side is going to be in a manageable draw, whether it's Coastal and Louisville, or it's going to be manageable on that side of the bracket. So maybe we'll see Florida State finally do what it's tried to do for so long.
Now, nowhere in your recipe for a wonderful College World Series did you include the two Big Ten teams that are still alive in this thing. UCLA in the Supers. USC has a very tough winner-take-all regional final tonight, but hey, the Big Ten's still alive.
They are, and it was so interesting to me a year or two ago. I remember people saying, well, I don't know. I mean, UCLA and USC are kind of down in baseball, so what are they really going to bring to the Big Ten? And that was a humorous comment, because obviously those two programs have brought a lot to the Big Ten in a short amount of time. And one of the things that they've brought is they were just better than a lot of the Big Ten teams, and they had been in a very competitive Pac-12 league. The Pac-12s get stacked with great teams, and so I think that was part of it. Is that once UCLA and USC got out of that league, and they all of a sudden were playing teams that weren't quite as good, then you saw them flex their muscles a little bit. But I'd be surprised if USC wins today.
I would too.
You never know. UCLA is an awfully good team. I saw them. They have followed quite a bit this year, and Nebraska will have no finer win in the last 3 or 4 years than beating UCLA on Big Ten championship day. That was a hell of a win. UCLA is very good. They're a very, very good team, and they've been building to this. They've kind of been trending toward this moment. They've got some star players on their team. UCLA is a contender to win the national championship. They could pull it off, and they got to beat UTSA to get to the CWS. But if they do that, I do think they have a very good chance of winning it all.
Switching to Husker football, have you been watching a lot of Australian rules football over the weekend?
I used to watch it as a kid. There was this cable channel called Sports Channel, and it used to have a lot of NHL hockey during hockey season, and then it would have Australian rules football. And it might have been called Sports Channel America. I don't remember, but I discovered Australian rules football when I was a little kid.
Wow!
And I always loved how the umpire, the official, wearing the little hat, and like how they would mark that somebody scored a goal, and they put their fingers like kind of down, like they were good, and it was great. Nebraska's going to have a rugby style punter. Aesthetically, it doesn't look that pretty, really, but it works. And so they roll out a lot. You have the option. So they train the guys to punt the normal way, which when you're trying to pooch a punt, you kind of have to. Like, you can't assume that you're going to rugby punt a punt, down inside the 5 by rolling it down. But they have they have a traditional style, and then the rugby style where you roll out and you can kind of kick the ball and tumble it end over end. It makes it almost impossible to return. And that's what Nebraska wants to go to. They want to have the flexibility to do both. I don't blame them for that. I think it's a good model. You have to have good protection schemes, which Mike Eckler will have. But I think it's you've got a good model there, and I think Nebraska's wise to try it. Some of the best punters in the country have been rugby style Australian trained kickers, and Archie Wilson comes from that group of players. It won't surprise me at all if Nebraska gets significantly better in that category in short order.
And Sam, I want to thank you for your time. I want to get you out of here on this. My last guest allowed me to ask him if he had seen any good movies, and I know you also like movies. Have you seen any good movies lately?
Well, I'd say that I went and saw the Mission Impossible movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about 25 minutes in that movie that are pretty incredible.
There's some good stuff in there.
Oh, yeah. So the sequence related to the submarine is very, very good. And seeing in as big of a theater as possible with the best sound system possible, which is what I did. And so do that if you can. It's a little bit of a slow burn up to it. And so I love the Mission Impossible movies, so I've been kind of going back through and watching them. They get longer and longer. So the first one was like an hour and 45 minutes and just sort of clips along. This one was 2 hours and 50 minutes, and it felt like it. It was a little bit of a slow burn. So that's probably the most recent movie that's notable that I saw. And my wife and I. So I'm a big movie buff, and like I'm not just a movie buff of great movies, but I'm a buff of bad ones too. And so one of the things that we've been doing is we've been going through the disaster movies of the 1970s, and many of your listeners may have no idea what I'm talking about.
Like Towering Inferno and things like that?
Towering Inferno, Airport 73, 75, and 77, Earthquake, the Poseidon Adventure. Yeah, so we've been going through those, and we just got done with Earthquake, which is not a good movie, but a very interesting movie with Charlton Heston and George Kennedy. So we just finished that last night. So yeah, I don't know that I'd describe any of those movies as good, but they're out there on the streaming services. And if you want to laugh or you want to see a cultural time capsule, you can check out the disaster movies from the 70s.
There you go. I just like in the last guest I had, we had Schaefer on, and he went places I didn't think he'd go with that question. So did you, Sam. It didn't disappoint.
Where did he go? Where did he go?
He just watched 10 Things I Hate About You for the first time.
Yeah, good one.
And he said he really liked David Krumholtz, and I didn't think we'd talk about David Krumholtz today.
Yeah, I don't know.
The elf from Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So.
That's I tell you what. Now I took you in a completely different direction, which I have to admit is probably infinitely less interesting to anyone under a certain age. Like the disaster movies of the 70s. The best of those is the Poseidon Adventure, followed by the Towering Inferno, and then after that, the quality declines pretty quickly.
Different folks are listening, and we're giving them all a little something, right, Sam?
Yeah, we are.
All right. Sam McKewon, Omaha World Herald. Thank you for the time today. We appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
There he is, Sam McKewon. You can follow him on Twitter at SW McKewon. See, I know he's a movie guy. I know he really likes movies. I really like movies. And him and I were often not afforded the outlet to discuss such matters. So I have no governor today. I have no one to say, Josh, you need to stick to the clock. You need to stick to the topics. I got no one to tell me that today. That person is me. And if my job is to talk until 1:45-ish, I'm going to do that a couple of times. Like, okay, like you had to know, producer Josh is hosting today, probably going to talk movies. I've actually probably talked movies less than you thought I was going to talk movies today. So my guests talked movies. I didn't even talk movies. I just asked them a question about movies, to which they took me to David Krumholtz and the disaster films of the 1970s, including Charlton Heston's Earthquake, a ride that I rode at Universal Studios, had to be Universal Studios, in Orlando in 1996, somewhere in there. And when I was riding that ride 30 years ago, let's call it, I said, what the hell is this old movie? What is this ride? What is this old movie they're talking about? Earthquake? It was actually a pretty good ride. Like, you're in one of the cars and it goes through not a tunnel of love, but a tunnel, and things are collapsing around you. It was a fun ride. And I was like, what is this movie? Earthquake? Who's Charlton Heston? And my dad said, he's the guy from those monkey movies you like. And I said, oh, yeah, Charlton Heston, of course. Because I was a weird child and I'm a weird adult. But I've never seen Earthquake. I've never seen the Towering Inferno. Would watch if given the opportunity. And Sam says they're on the streamers. So maybe that's something to put on the list. We digress. I guess we'll get back on track. Cags got the call. We'll catch you up on that as the Sports Center on the TV here is dunking on the Rockies behind me. Hot take. I am interested to see how bad the Rockies' record will be at the end of the year. I don't like seeing everyone dunk on them for some reason. I think 9-50 is a hilarious mark, and I'd like to see how low it can get. But I mean, I guess because of June 1st, like being a benchmark and golfers having more wins than them in the month of May, I don't know why we're dunking on the Rockies so much today. The Women's College World Series game did go final. Texas has advanced to the championship series with a 2-0 victory over Tennessee. They await the winner of Oklahoma and Texas Tech. Those two will face each other at 6 o'clock tonight. Oklahoma needs to win a game at 6 and a game at 8:30 tonight if they would like to get a rematch against Texas in the championship series, which you can hear right here on 1620 The Zone later this week. We'll step aside. We'll come back. We'll talk Cags getting the call to the Royals and kind of catch you up on the headlines that we may have missed throughout the show today. It's coming up next on the Connor Happer Show. Producer Josh filling in today on 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone, Connor Happer Show. Producer Josh Johnson filling in for Connor today as Connor makes his way home from Fayetteville. We'll get all the dirt, all the scoop from Connor tomorrow. He'll be back. We'll be in the same room together for the first time since I had Platcat look this up for me. I believe it to be Tuesday, May 20th was the last time him and I were in the same room together doing a show. So it'll be nice to have my best friend in the whole wide world back tomorrow on 1620 The Zone. During Connor's call of the regional game with Arkansas, everyone that has ever met Connor alerted him to the news that Jack Caglianone had been called up by the Kansas City Royals. I will read the tweet from Jeff Passan because I believe there's important information in there. The Kansas City Royals are calling up slugger Jack Caglianone, one of the top prospects in baseball, sources tell ESPN. Those sources were correct. Caglianone, 22, is hitting .322, .389, .593 with 15 home runs and 56 runs batted in 50 games between AA and AAA. And he got the call. Those sources were correct. 12 months ago, Jack was in a super regional with Florida, and he'll make his major league debut with a fun little patch on his sleeve later this week with the Kansas City Royals. He played 12 games for the Omaha Storm Chasers. Some of them were even home games. As halfway through it's I believe the 1-2 week homestand the Omaha Storm Chasers are given, the biggest star they will see this year is gone. He's no more. He's not on the team anymore. He will not don that Omaha Runs jersey this weekend like we thought he would. 12 games, 54 plate appearances, 47 at bats. You do the math there. 9 runs scored, 15 hits, a double, 6 home runs, many of those occurring in Salt Lake with the air's different there. 13 runs batted in, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts, a batting average of .319 for the prize pick of the Kansas City Royals organization, Jack Caglianone. So there's a couple offshoots of this. We'll start with the one that Schaefer brought up. Schaefer grew up a fan of the Cleveland Indians / Cleveland Guardians, and his whole life growing up, he had never been truly jealous of anyone that had ever played for the Kansas City Royals because, they hadn't had a transcendent player since George Brett, and along comes Bobby Witt Jr., and he's like, dang, I wish I had a guy like that on my team. And now he goes, man, I wish I had a guy like Jack Caglianone on my team. And he hasn't even played a Major League Baseball game yet. But, him and I sort of talked about, Salvi's a star for the Kansas City Royals, but there's a high wattage difference between Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez. No disrespect to the captain, but, you got stars in your eyes when you're watching Bobby Witt Jr. He's an MVP candidate year in, year out, and will be presumably for some time to come. And now you add another bat to that lineup for the Royals Connor's going to go all over all of this better tomorrow. So just kind of consider this an outline for Connor's thesis statement on Jack Caglianone tomorrow on the Connor Happer Show. Tune in. I bet you it'll be an MLB reaction, overreaction, just if you're looking for a spot in our show to hear some Cags talk. That lineup is not hitting, and they need Jack. And we told you when he got the call to Omaha, you might want to hurry to Warner Park to see him. Now, when we warned you that it would be a quick stint in Omaha, we did not think it would be 12 games with the Omaha Storm Chasers. A week-long homestand was the only opportunity you had to go see them. And I get it; those aren't the scenarios MLB teams think of when they're calling up and sending down players. he hasn't had enough home games in Omaha yet, so we can't call him up yet. Like, I get that part of it, but he's played, let me do the math here in front of you all. 50. He's played 50 games in the minors, and they've said yes. Yes, I've seen enough. This guy can do this for our big league club. Now their big league club needs a bat, and they need one desperately. They need an outfielder, and he will play one. So yeah, he fills a lot of needs for the team. So you call him up. Like, I get that, but man, that's a quick rise. I'm trying to think of guys that, Connor will probably have some more information on this. I'm just going to wonder aloud because I'm a man in a room. I'm going to pretend like John Bishop isn't right in front of me. Guys who have gotten to the majors in 50 games. I guess I could look that up. Skeens is a guy that comes to mind right off the bat. I'm going to guess his stint in the minors was comparable. Oh, sure. When you make the major leagues, they don't put your minor league stats on there anymore. That makes sense. I don't know. I'm going to guess Skeens was Platt Cat. How many minor league games did Skeens play? But this is relative, not unheard of. Like, it's happened, but man, we told you it'd be quick, and it was quick. So the Royals in St. Louis later this week. Say hi to Gene for us. Get an autograph. Bring it back. Tomorrow, 6:45 start. Let me do my math. I believe that would be a 6 o'clock start on 1180 The Zone. If you are looking to listen to CAG's first game with the Royals on the radio, and then they go to the south side of Chicago for a little 3-gamer with the White Sox, and then Cags plays his first home game Tuesday, June 10th against the New York Yankees. That will be fun. And then the first weekend series is against the struggling Athletics. There's some Alex Gordon giveaways. There's some Bobby Witt Jr. giveaways. And then, of course, it is Father's Day, also known as opening weekend of the College World Series for everyone inside of this building. So Cags gets the call. The video that the Royals did, very, very nice. And, Jersh sits Cags down. We went over this earlier, but we'll go over it again. Jersh sits Cags down and he says, hey, do you think, thank you, Platt Cat, 7 AAA starts for Skeens before he was called up. One of those was at Werner Park. So Jersh sits Skeens down, not Skeens. That would be great if he sat Skeens down. But sits Cags down and he says, hey, do you think you can help the team up there? And you can see him kind of realizing what is happening in front of him. And there was some emotion there. And that's always cool to see that, like, it means something to those guys. Like, Cags knew before the end of the year he was going to be with the Kansas City Royals. But still, hearing those words, you're a Major League Baseball player, is really cool because, like, how much sacrifice went into that? How many late nights, early mornings went into that? And Jersh said, call your dad, tell your dad that he's the father of a Major League Baseball player. And Father's Day, first week at Kauffman for Cags. He gets to share that with his family. Now, he did not get to go to the zoo from the video. It seems like today Jack Caglianone was going to go to Henry Dorley Zoo and is instead packing up his bag. Did he even unpack? I think there's some fun questions that we might never get the answers to with a 12-game stint in the minors. Because, I mean, he started in Salt Lake. He came home, quote unquote, to Omaha for a week and had to unpack, has to pack up again and head to St. Louis. So congratulations to him. I mean, you saw it in Omaha when he was with the Gators, just the two-way superstar that was Jack Caglianone. But Connor and I both agree, very good that we've put the kibosh on him being a pitcher. He wasn't Ohtani, let's put it that way. But you've seen the highlight reels, I'm sure, of him just hitting nuke after nuke after nuke, and hopefully he gets to do that on the big league level. John Bishop wants to comment on this?
Well, I was just going to help you out a little bit for the answer to the question about guys who had the quickest call-up to the bigs. There's actually 24 players who never went to the minor leagues.
Okay.
The most recent being Garrett Crochet, but a lot of that had to do with COVID-19.
Always comes back to COVID.
It does. It comes back to COVID. Probably the most famous player, the only Hall of Famer that I could see out of the group was Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield, when he graduated from Minnesota, got the call up to the Padres the very next spring. Now, for a lot of these guys, the draft is in the summer, and they'll go through whatever training, maybe Arizona Fall League, and then the next year was when they started. So it's rare, but and granted, a lot of these situations were probably because of desperation, not just because they were talented. I'm not saying some of these guys weren't very talented; they were, but it made it more difficult. In fact, the Dave Winfield story is interesting because he got picked in '73 out of college, and 2 weeks later was playing in the big leagues.
Oh, goodness.
So
that's
like
it was a
Caitlin, different era back then, but he obviously proved his worth. He was a very good player.
That's like Caitlin Clark getting drafted, and then like
pretty much
2 weeks later, like the women's basketball's college season ends, the draft happens,
right,
and then 2 weeks later the WNBA season starts.
Yeah, it's just different because in baseball has its own built-in minor league system, and so they would prefer that folks go through their system, their training, and nowadays with things being very specialized, like with Cags, I think the one thing that was holding him up was they didn't have a place for him right away. So that's why he was down in the minors, playing outfield, learning that style, because that's where the Royals had room for him. And, so it made more sense for him. He probably could have had the talent to get up there earlier, but I think a lot of folks just want to give their guys a chance to make, to see some really good pitching because it is different. It's a jump from college to the minors.
Definitely.
And, for Cags to have done it this quickly is very impressive. You were talking with Sam a little bit earlier on about the World Series 2 years ago. I mean, so with Cags getting the jump, Cade Horton was in that World Series. He's with the Cubs. Skeens was in the World Series. Wyatt Langford started this year.
That was the other name I was trying to think of.
And Garrett and Cruz, almost said Paul Crew, but Dylan Cruz. All of those guys were in that World Series 2 years ago. That's how special that year was.
Man, we're going to look back on 20 years and go, wow, that was a roster full of talent. And it's already showing it at the major league level 2 years later.
Yeah.
So thank you, research assistant John Bishop.
You're welcome.
Here on the Connor Happer Show.
Always trying to do my best.
We appreciate you wearing many hats. We will wrap this puppy up. We got a couple poll questions. We'll tell you what to watch. We'll do it all next before a crossover here on 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone, Connor Happer Show, last segment. It's where we update the polls. We tell you what to watch. Again, Connor back tomorrow. We'll get all the nitty-gritty from Fayetteville from him. We'll get his real thoughts on the Arkansas fan base. Spoiler alert, supportive. We go to the polls on Twitter at Happer Show. Couple from the morning crossover. Couple of Matt McMaster quotes that we've turned into poll questions. Number one, do you like your tight end to have back hair? 53% of the audience said no to that one. And finally, most voted on poll question of the day, do we need to bedazzle more things? 2/3 of the audience said no, of course not. Probably not the right audience to be asking whether or not we should bedazzle more things. But you can vote on those on our Twitter page at Happer Show. We turn to what to watch tonight. Small slate of MLB games, 3 of them on TV for you today. Brewers Reds at 6 o'clock on FS1. The big one, Mets Dodgers at 9 o'clock on MLB Network. And your MLB TV free game of the day, also at 9 o'clock, the Athletics host the Minnesota Twins in a AAA ballpark. And every now and then, I do dip into Athletics home games on MLB TV just to marvel at a AAA stadium hosting 2 Major League Baseball clubs. It's fascinating to me. Baseball, your regional round concludes today. 6 Game 7s. What does that mean, Josh? Well, it's just like a Game 7 in the NBA or the NHL. It's a winner-take-all game. It is a true regional final. Number 5, North Carolina takes on Oklahoma in the Chapel Hill Regional. 2 o'clock start on ESPNU. The Corvallis Regional, that gets underway at 5 o'clock on ESPN+. Big Ten stalwart USC hoping to score the upset there. Cinderella, one of 2 real true Cinderellas. I guess 3 if you count UTSA, although they dominated Texas over the weekend, so I don't know. Murray State takes on number 10 Ole Miss at 5 o'clock on SEC Network. Wake Forest takes on Tennessee in the Knoxville Regional Final at 5 o'clock on ESPN2. Games at 8 o'clock. This one on ESPN2. Number 6 in the whole tournament, LSU looks to defend the Baton Rouge Regional. What do you want, Omaha? Do you want LSU or do you want the underdog here in Omaha? You have to make a choice. LSU takes on, and I'm going to ask John here if this is correct because I don't believe it is correct. 27-33 Little Rock.
Yeah, there were 2 teams in the field, including North Dakota State, who were sub 500.
Okay.
Because they won their league title in the tournament.
My gosh, 27-33 Little Rock could beat LSU and advance to the Supers tonight. Miami against number 16 Southern Miss in the Hattiesburg Regional Final at 8 o'clock on ESPN+. Softball, it is if necessary day in OKC. 1 game in the books already. Texas has advanced to the championship series and eliminated Tennessee. 2-0 win there. Number 2, Oklahoma takes on number 12 Texas Tech at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Oklahoma needs to win at 6 o'clock and at 8:30 tonight to get a chance at Texas again. Those 2 teams met in the opening weekend, and Texas beat Oklahoma, so that'll be interesting. By the end of the night tonight in women's softball, we'll know the championship series participants, so that'll be fun. You can listen to the championship series here on 1620 The Zone later this week. And finally, 7 o'clock on NBC, America Ninja Warrior, the season 17 premiere. Qualifying rounds begin in Las Vegas, and I'm going to read the description of the episode as it is written. I don't know who any of these people are. Featured competitors include Jesse Graff, Daniel Gill, Flip Rodriguez, Tiana Weberly, and Elijah Browning. I don't know what that means. I hope it was okay to read on the air, but that's who's participating in American Ninja Warriors Season 17 premiere tonight. I want to thank our producer, Josh Odson. I want to thank our host, Josh Odson. I'm washing and drying the dishes like a single mother. Connor is back tomorrow, and I've never been happier to see my best friend in the whole wide world. The crossover is next.